We'll see everybody same bat time, same bat channel on Monday. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Buddy, so going to be a fun one this afternoon. I mean, the market, hey, any day the market is green, it's barely is going to be fine by me, especially when you have the ES leading the NASDAQ. We prefer when the NASDAQ is up, not the ES. It's going to be an awesome day, and especially when Affirm, one of your top ideas, goes up 12%, but you don't actually trade it. So it's one of those. It's a weird one because I can't complain about the day today. It's been in October. It's been a strong day today. There's been a lot of really good long opportunities. Nvidia was pretty good. Chances on Apple. AMD's been a rocket ship. Even had a good short on DJT. Like, so much was good. Uber was a fantastic long. But I can't get away from this chart. And I was just talking to Obi about this. You always have to prioritize and trade. That's just part of the game. It's all in the game, right? Like Omar says.
EA
and
in the game.
It's in the game. Well, this is the wire. It's all in the game. It's what they always say. The game is the game. Game doesn't change. You've got to pick what you want to trade. And so when we looked at that all-time high break on Uber, that immediately put Affirm into the back burner for me. And Affirm is really the one today. So Affirm, just very quickly to show you what we didn't do on Affirm, it's pretty darn clean. Like, you look at this local high break. If you just take this high break, okay, fine. You get essentially 50, 60 cents out of it. It dips back in. It's the consolidation higher in the retake of the top and the 45 break. That'll be frustrating not to have gone over because it's very, very clean to the upside on Affirm. We had a reason to be in it. We pivoted away from Uber and probably didn't even get everything out of Uber that we needed to, because we scalped it into 83 and then held it to 84 and it went to 85. So it's one of those. Can't complain if you're going to have an up day, but man, Affirm is on one today. What an absolute banger Affirm has been. Can't take anything away from it. Unfortunately for Tesla's back underneath that 220 level. That recovery that it had, not so much. And our good friend Nvidia, what are the odds that we would spend all afternoon waiting for a 135 break yesterday on Nvidia that just never materialized? Get the break that we're all waiting for today.
It was a good break.
It was a good break.
Great break.
And then in the afternoon, we're waiting on the 135 break again. That's not how it's supposed to go. We're supposed to be at $137 on Nvidia, Obi. Where is my 137 on Nvidia? That's what I want.
That's fair. I think we're all looking for that bit of continuation on that Nvidia 135, and it didn't really come through. We got about 70, 80 pennies above, and again, with some strong market tailwind as well, right? That definitely helped us out a little bit, but coming right back in, no real continuation, no real follow through, but definitely an interesting trade, I would say. And Neil and I were talking about what may have been one of the top trades of the day, and Neil was like, "Oh, it was the SSR bounce on Tesla." And we had that conversation, and I was like, yeah, definitely one of the top ones. I also really liked that 135 because of how much time it kind of gave you, right? It showed you it was a level on yesterday, right? It showed you multiple times with it sitting there. Not only does it show you that, it shows you in the pre-market, once again, if you go down to a 1-minute chart, you can see how flat this consolidation is. So right there, look at that. For about, what is it, over 15 minutes, we just grind underneath. Highs are 99s of that grind there. And then once again, you can't really get that far past that 98, 99 level. And then finally, it comes in, I guess, in the morning session and then around 10 o'clock, you can see the strongest volume bar on the day, taking out that size at that 135. Quick little scalp off of that. Again, you'd probably be risking very, very tight on this one there. Even if you risk a prior bar low on the 1 minute, you would have never gone stopped out with a 10 penny risk. It gives you about a push of 70 pennies. So talk about a 7-to-1, Neil, off of a breakout trade, off of a level which gave you ample time to have that order in and set yourself up for that breakout. So, and the failure to follow through as well, the back through that 135 was quite nice.
I know we're going to talk more about it, but what's crazy is I got 16s on it. We get a trader on the floor.
01.
Got a 1.
Yeah. And they crossed less.
That's
They
what I
crossed
understand.
less. So I think there's something around that.
So this is what I'm going to get at, and we'll probably talk about this again. You saw all morning on Nvidia, I was crossed to 21. So when 135 went, my limit order was, break 135, cross to 21s. But I feel as if sometimes the more aggressive order you put in there, it's like it doesn't care about how many shares. It's like if you put the aggressive order, you might just get the worst price. And people that put the conservative order end up somehow getting the better price. It's weird. It shouldn't work that way because it should just fill everybody the same with the same order type. It was on the same gateway and the same stop order that it did. By the way, I'm only in one position because as the market's going up, Palantir is down 2% and lost a bid. So I've had 3 shorts on Palantir. I don't think Palantir we probably won't talk about. Short under 43. And then I just shorted underneath like this level here when it retook 42.78. I have some bids going into 42.5, which is a big support zone. But Palantir, while one of the strongest names out there and it's been making fresh 52-week highs every single day. Today, it's a little bit of a flush after a failed break at 44. I believe Sharif is ready, so we can go over the symbols that you want to know about.
The afternoon rundown, guys, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. Neil and Obi locked and loaded, ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. Join us on the midday show and get into that chat and vote for your favorite ticker every day. But it's a subs-only chat, so make sure you like and subscribe. Yes, so let's look at the futures first here. So the ES far outperforming the NQ today, about 0.5% in the green for the ES. The NQ looking flat last time I looked. And Dara? And the Dow is up 0.75%. It's a fantastic day today for the Russell. It's up 1.88. Let's look at the first ticker as decided by you, TSLA. No need to introduce this. Everybody knows the robotaxi event was yesterday. It was a sell the news event, or at least it seems. This is the robotaxi itself. Good look. Kind of looks like a sports car, guys. I mean, I didn't imagine the taxi was going to be a 2-door. Look, this is the inside of it as well. Kind of looks like the Model 3. Got that minimalistic design that we know Tesla loves to employ, Elon specifically. And this is the toaster. Yeah, you can call it the bus or whatever. Lots of different names being floated around here, but this one looks good as well. It's going to be able to carry people and goods, guys. Sorry.
So I absolutely love, I think the van is really cool.
Not Iron Man, it's an iron van.
Well, yeah, I just think that the concept of it is like this is where we're going.
I like it.
Like immediately was like, oh yeah, I could see that picking up people in my neighborhood, take me to the station, like that kind of a thing, or take me, just take me to like the downtown. Like just it's a very simple concept. So I got pretty fortunate in that like the one stock that I was read on was the one that could have been the worst ever. Now we'll cop to this. In the pre-market, I was asked like shortly after we came on, someone asked me, where does this thing go short sell restricted? Where's 10% down? I was like, oh, it's around $215. And we're looking for a short off of 225. So ideally, it was supposed to be, I want a short pops into 225. On Tesla, the 50 period was sitting right in there. It just seemed like such an obvious place to look for shorts. And we were trading up at 224 at the time. It seemed like that was going to be the case. By the time we got to the open, it was tanking and I had missed all the shorts. And was like, oh, I'm just going to take the next even dollar break. Now, it's just true. It's not a defense. It's actually pretty silly. I didn't remember that 215 was SSR. So I set the break down for 215, got into the trade, was immediately realized that it was where we were, and essentially just punched back out when it came back above. So fortunately, it was an abject disaster, but it should have been a long. Like if I'm more aware of the fact that, oh, shoot, it just hit 10% down and came back up through 215. Whether or not you could have gotten a fill, I was able to get out. So presumably, if I was able to get out tight to 215, I think I would have been able to get long. Obviously, that makes sense to me. It's the same kind of order. I just happened to have been in short at the moment. So that was to me, that was the one trade. Uber was great. Affirm was good. But I think that trade, for Tesla to be down 10%, it was similar to when SMCI was down, and you saw that kind of a ramp job. You got to be looking for those. So like that was the one misstep this morning for myself, and it was good to get out of it, but that should have been an easy long. It was everything you wanted out of an SSR bounce. It looks weak now, as far as I'm like now it's a weak stock. Can't hold on to 220, slowly rolling back over. I can't think of a time that an SSR name did this and eventually got back to the low. I was just asking Obi that. Like, I feel like it's weak and it's a short, but the notion that today it gets back to 215 is even weaker than I could imagine.
Yeah, that Tesla move off of open was quite crazy there. And yeah, shout out to Neil, and I guess the Brankles had it as well, sniping that SSR level as soon as it kind of came in. And then look at that nice little wick and rip city to the upside. Now I'm curious to know how fast that actually happened. So I'm just going to pull up Tesla on a I guess let's do, we want to do a 15-second. We'll do a 15-second chart here, just to see how fast that little grab off of the open was right here. Here, you know what? I will pull it in so you guys can take a look see alongside here. I'll pull this screen in right here. Boom, right there. So this is a 15-second chart. We were only there for about 30 seconds. So I guess you had some time. You had a decent amount of time right there. You can see that 15 seconds it traded from 215. 30 all the way down to the low of 214.40, and that kind of happened within 15 seconds. And the next bar, a little bit of I guess engulfing-ish candle to take us back right above the strongest volume on the day as well on that bar. So I really like that. That little push, and we are trading a little bit lower. We kind of pointed out in the pre-market right there, a little bit of a downtrend from the pre-market. So continuation potentially of a bigger picture downtrend that we've been having over the past few days. You can see here, there's a lot of lines there, but I'll take them out of the way. Go to an hourly chart. So look at that. Nice little sell-off off of 264. Is a bit of a gap down back into some of these prior levels there. I do like that idea on the bigger picture, but yeah, no, Neil is right. He asked me this question right before we came on. He said, how often have you seen an SSR bounce so strong and then it go back to that level intraday? And I'm like, I have no idea, but it should be interesting to observe what Tesla does going forward on the day. But I feel like a lot of the volatility and a lot of the action that was there was in the open, and even a lot of the opportunity, I think, for the intraday was in and around, I guess up till 11:30ish. I would say some of the stronger volatility and price action there to potentially capitalize off of on Tesla.
SMCI almost 2% in the green here. No specific catalyst for it today, but we did have this one from yesterday. We already know AMD announced their MI325X, which is supposed to take on Nvidia's Blackwell GPU, and Supermicro already launching servers and accelerated systems featuring that new EPYC 9005 series, as well as the MI325X. So good look for them, guys. No real specific catalyst today for these microchips other than AMD. The only single microchip semiconductor name on my watch list that's red right now is Broadcom, down 2%. Everything else in the green, guys.
Actually, possibly setting up a descending wedge breakout, or it's already doing it. So this is a 15-minute, and you're going to see, like, from the morning right to lunchtime, the lower high, lower high. It's also got like higher lows as well, but it's more like this, closing back above on the 15-minute and putting a bit of a bullish candle right in here. Like to see this. This is going to close in 1 minute. This closes like this. It's going to look like a breakout to me above 47.60 on SMCI. On the 3-minute chart, it doesn't look the same. Like, it's like, okay, it needs to break this back out on the 3-minute, but you look at, that's the trend from the morning. There's when it lost the trend, or sorry, broke the trend. Maybe not all that clean in terms of what it's giving you because it pulls right back in, but it bounces off the previous trend line and is now going a little bit higher. And I use that trend from the 15-minute chart, so it's a little bit wicky. It's just cutting through the wicks there, but you get the idea. Feel like if SMCI, if it closes here, I might just take it, give it to the local bottom. So maybe a new trade we got going in there. And because we're talking about chips, and we'll mention AMD, not Nvidia. I guess we've talked about 135 Nvidia to death. There's no point. I should still be in Intel. I'm not. I am not, because I decided to, for reasons that, I'm not even, it is what it is. At the moment, I was like, okay, Intel's slowing down. The market felt like it was slowing. There was a couple of reasons why I felt like I should be trailing the whole thing, and we're going to retest VWAP. That's all. So we basically had a false break here at 23.75. I was long on VWAP. I put a trailing stop in. When it failed, it just got out. And then now you're going higher on Intel. But that 23.60 from yesterday's high, essentially, like this top into a VWAP retrace. I'd love to be able to get back into this on trend. But SMCI might be setting up a new one for us here.
Yeah, no, I'm continuing to watch some of these tech names here. I think AMD again was quite nice, but SMCI, oh boy, has it been quite something over the past few days? I know I've been kind of trading this earlier, I think last week and a little bit of this week as well. But strong push we happen to have on, yeah, it was earlier this week on Monday, and then look at that, takes it pretty much all the way back, about a 50% reversion, a little bit over that. Right off of the open. If you were here on Tuesday watching SMCI, oh boy, somebody was definitely slamming into the bid, just slapping the bid, huge orders right off of the open, kind of just, it was teleporting 30, 40, 50 pennies down back to back. We rewatched this tape as well over and over again, and that was some aggressive selling. And look at that, and selling does not stop. Kind of slows down, but continues on till the end of the day. But some of those levels from that strong sell-off continue to hold. See Wednesday still holding that area above 45, Thursday as well, and you can see today more sideways action in this crazy range that we've made. I'm curious to know whether or not we can get back to this 51.38 is the week high as of right now. And taking a look at the weekly, we did attempt to break down. I guess off of these higher price structure here through that 70 flush down. Now we're consolidating, and that attempt on Monday was a little bit of a push of that prior week high right there. I remember that pretty distinctly, 48.30s, and we're pretty much trading within the range on SMCI. So let's see what it does going forward. Intraday, I don't really see too much as of right now. Sideways price action on SMCI.
Palantir going green to red as it comes off all-time highs, printing that this morning, down almost 2%, 1/4 right now. No specific headline for the sell-off, but there was this yesterday, something I didn't even have notice of, guys. Looks like Palantir's stake in Faraday Futures, an electric vehicle company, increased about 9% after they converted some receivables into equity. So looks as if Alex Karp looking at investing in this company, guys.
I feel like I should have known that I didn't know that. I mean, Sean probably knows, but what's Faraday doing here? Sorry, it caught me off guard because I actually didn't realize that to be true. Faraday dumps off at the open. Really, FF? This is what they... Yeah, this is... Faraday doesn't look all that great. Anyways, Faraday got pumped to the downside today. So Palantir, there was a question like, what's the reasoning behind being short in Palantir? So a couple of things. The first off would be the market's at the highs and trending higher. So Palantir made a break of 44, another 52-week high for Palantir. There's been many of them. But then look at what happened above that 44 break. Lower high reversal. So I think ideally on a failed break, that's a short that I'd want. Like right back in through the prior high in there usually would be a short. And the context of this for Palantir is as the market has been going up today and bull flagging, it's been trending down. So it was a failed break, which I shorted underneath yesterday's high for the first available short. And then when it broke down this support here at 43, I then shorted that, and I shorted also underneath this low with the one I'm getting out of right now. So essentially, it was just a trend down, which it feels like it's even breaking as we speak. It was just a trend down short after a failed break of 44 through the previous high. And this, I think this was a miss. That said, if you're not really paying attention to Palantir in this moment, and you're looking at other stocks like the Ubers, and at that point, of course, it was going to be Nvidia, you're unlikely to catch that trade because you're seeing it come right back through. It sets up this candle on the 15, and then it dumps rather quickly. That's at 10:15. So where is that? Like right in here. Like you're probably trying to get it there. See, like underneath VWAP, the retest, it tries to go back above VWAP and fails. That's the entry you want. But you've got to be watching the stock like a hawk if you want that fill. That's just how it works. But the next available is just the pop right back in and the fail underneath VWAP. That's just standard operating procedure. And then the break of the low there is pretty clean. So I just got out of it. But Palantir's been a good short today. It's been up almost every single day going into this. Some days a good stock can still go down. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just... you don't go parabolic up every single day. There's going to be down days, and failed breakouts of fresh highs can give you that. Because if everyone's just been taking breakouts long, If you catch a fail break trend, great, because there's a lot of people that are taking profit on the way back in that on the down day can give you a nice working trend for, you know, it's now 220. Until now, it was a very easy trend to the downsides. It's the first time I actually got stopped out of a short, and that was the third one I was in.
Yeah, this thing looks pretty, wow, nice. Toaster van.
See, that's a little too brown, the toast for me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think? What do you feel about that?
I mean, it's not like it's not totally burnt, but yeah, it might be a little crunchy.
I'm very much like a light toast. Like, I want my toast
like a light
lightly.
toast. Yeah.
My roommate at university, I mean, this dude, like, everything burnt. Like, burnt chicken. I'm talking burnt toast. He'd do burn pancakes if he want. Like, it's just, he loved the taste of burnt nonsense.
Wow.
You could never let this man on the barbecue. You can't do it. Trust me. And I'm not gonna. I won't get into anything.
I would not do that.
More, but like it made no sense to me. He just loved the taste of burnt stuff. So you never wanted him making your food. Great roommate, by the way. Great dude. Adrian, I love you, man. He's a great dude, but he just loved burnt crap. It's like, I don't get it.
That's wild. Yeah.
I don't get it. Anyway.
It's like I don't know. You got to watch out for that stuff. Bro, eating burnt things, I'm pretty sure there's something about like carcinogens in there. But yeah, very strong ticker. This is the hourly right here, right? February, right there from the year beginning. From the first earnings report of the year, we can see that it's held quite nicely, and we've been getting that acceleration, some strong volume coming up as well. You can see that I have some anchors pinned to some events and some earnings as well, and you can see how well this thing has been doing. But Neil is absolutely correct when he says, yeah, things in an uptrend, they definitely take pullbacks, and that's more often than not, that's pretty healthy if it's not aggressive and not really breaking any key levels there. You can see that we've been bidding up since the beginning of October. This is October 1st right here. You can see the beginning of the month right there, getting some strong action on Palantir, pushing up towards that 45 mark. You can see I already have an alert there at 44.71. We didn't quite get there today, but we are experiencing a little bit of sell pressure as we pull up into some of these higher time frame levels here on Palantir. Now you go back on the daily, and you can see why that might be a bit of an interesting area, right, Neil? Because that 45 to the T is all-time highs on Palantir, and we just came up to that. We came a little bit towards that today, 44.38, so only about roughly about 62 pennies away from that all-time high on Palantir happened to come in today. But yeah, I'm curious to know. I think this thing is winding up for an all-time high break, Neil, so we'll see. A little bit of selling pressure coming back into highs kind of makes sense.
Another great day for Affirm today to the tune of 12.5%. Today they got the upgrade from Wells Fargo, looking to boost it from equal weight to overweight, and that price target is what's good there from 40 to 52. I got to tell you, I put this on the upgrades and downgrades list multiple times this week as well as multiple times last week. Great day for it today, guys. What can I say?
I was saying in the beginning, it was a choice between, when I was looking at the symbols at the open, it was a choice for me between dedicating a level 2 in a chart to Affirm or to Uber. And I think at the last minute, I decided it was going to be Uber instead of Affirm. Obviously, the long ended up working on Affirm. I think it was a 45 break that was the idea for myself in my note this morning. So when we put that out, I elected to trade Uber instead. Affirm was very, very clean. It's just a continuation long, right? Like, it was already going earlier this week. You had a nice sort of consolidation higher. You had a dip day yesterday, which managed to hold prior highs. There's your support. There's your clean breakout. Next level being the 45. Took that out and continues to run, up 13% on Affirm. And it's not about, you're not always going to be right about which one you're going to get into. Uber had the big gap up. I just felt like the Tesla event led to Uber being super strong, and we'll play that 82 to 83, and then it broke and went to 84, even stronger than I thought they're on Uber. As far as this afternoon on Affirm, it's hard to want to chase this. Like, the NASDAQ just wicked the top again. So the NASDAQ just took out the top one more time in here. So you've got like this, it's like a W pattern going on, where you need to actually hold above that high. So there's your nice little W pattern. You need to take out the top. And chasing something which looks like a possible mean reversion on a Friday is a tricky thing to do. You're at this 47.5. If it can break it out, great. But I see this trending up. Here you go. And if anything, like it just did a close underneath. Like if it fails this high, that's usually like a mean reversion short on the 15-minute. If it fails this 47.5, it hasn't done it yet. But that's what I'm looking at here. By the way, I did get into SMCI. So we took the SMCI, was able to get 46s in here. I've already gotten, let's go to the 3-minute for you guys. I've already gotten some out there at the 60 level. Got a couple offers in here out in front of this lower high as well. So long SMCI, giving it into the 30s. Yeah, I just saw that one on the 15 that was breaking a bit of a trend. Dipped, held the other side of the trend line, consolidation, looking for the breakout. Market looks relatively strong, but we're going to have to punch through that top at some point.
Yeah, no, that Affirm is coming in super strong, and take a look at this. You know, bit of a reversion on a bigger picture. I kind of drew this in earlier there. So we've broken down on this trend that we've been doing since middle of September, end of September there, and a kind of cracked that earlier this week on Wednesday. A little bit on Tuesday there, where we come into that resistance level there. And nothing too crazy. It's just 2 points on the chart. So I don't know, like you gotta like rate some of these support and resistance levels, right? Some of them are stronger than others, some of them weaker than others. This one definitely a little bit weaker as we try to chop up, but you can see that buying pressure coming in quite aggressively on a Friday as well, after some sideways consolidation just above this 41.42 level for a push a little bit higher there on Affirm, and that prior high is sitting right at 47.98. We're pretty much right there, trading at 47.35 right now. So I'm curious to know whether we hit those highs or not on Affirm. But you got to remember that this thing has been a long time coming, right? So highs at 176s. Now I don't specifically know if this thing has had any sort of splits, but you can see this nice little rounded bottom here, all the way with a low of 862s right there, and we are getting that nice little bounce there. So let's see if we can take out this next level right here at that 52.48, only about a few points away from that. But before that, this prior level right here on the weekly from the week of September 16th, the high is 47.98, and we're pretty much right there. So that's the first step, and then if we kind of continue, I say that we are potentially poised for a visit to some of these other levels as well if we have that continuation there. But that's the look on Affirm. What's going on, Sharif?
Thank you very much there. And that analysis and this segment brought to you by Trade the Pool, allowing traders like you to get evaluated and trade real shares using the company's capital. No PDT rule holding you back. That's how they give a true trading edge. Here's the exciting part. Trade the Pool has just launched a limited edition program to evaluate stock traders like yourself. For a one-time fee of just $97, you'll receive $20,000 in buying power, and all you've got to do is reach the profit goal. The best part of this limited edition program is that they have reduced the profit goal and the minimum trades required to reach the funded phase. And the profit split has just been upgraded, so you keep 70% of the profits. You should definitely check it out. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description for more information. Big shout out to Trade the Pool. I'm never smiling in those pictures. I say this time and time again, we got to take some where I'm actually smiling, maybe on a day where the market's up, like today. And one of the reasons why today is so green, Sharif, might have to do with AMD. What a runner.
Absolutely, Neil. Great move for it today. 2.82% after the sell-in news event yesterday. In case you're just joining us, they did have their product launch event where they announced the MI325X, expected to be a competitor to Nvidia's Blackwell B200 chip. They also announced multiple other chips, some for AI, for specific PCs to be able to run AI programs, some others for AI servers. But this is what really caught me, guys, yesterday. We know they're cousins, but you know they're doing the same move too, like where they just the chip. Which one do you guys like better?
Yo, I did not know that they were cousins.
Well, Sharif says it like
That's
about
rigged.
74 times a week. So
I know.
how you could not?
I heard
know
it. I
that
heard
is
him say it. I
beyond me.
actually heard it from him, and I was like, oh boy, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those sheep lets us know their cousins basically like 5 times a day. It's really true. But like, how else are you supposed to hold the chip up in a picture like that? It's not like there's a million ways in which you could do it. See, that's the thing. People always like, oh, these guys are copying each other. But then you take a step back and there is no other way to present a chip in a headshot other than holding. You could hold it maybe like that. Of course. And they're cousins, so it makes sense they look alike. I'm just saying. But Nvidia is, in a general sense, Nvidia is the king. But today it was AMD.
Oh boy.
So like, yes, Nvidia was the focus at the 135. So for myself, like it is what it is. The real focus was trading that 1 through 135. AMD, I had a couple of breakout trades on it. The 166, which wasn't even all that great. Like it went 166 into 166 half, reloaded it, got up to the quarter. Then it lost the bid, rounded back through, and the second break was the better one. Then took the 167 quarter, like this local high break. And the reason I like that random local high break, like look at the trend going into it. Like it catches this bid right here. Then look at that trend going into the breakout. And then all of a sudden, okay, well, it loses the trend line. That's an easy out. This is not a short. I actually, when I set my trailing stop, it didn't punch out all of it. I didn't remember why. I think I set it to 75% and not 100%, which is just a keystroke error. So I then punched out the rest. But anyways, it ended up coding a short, which was not true. I'm not short the stock right now. Otherwise, I'd be crying. And then right there where it broke the trend was like the best part to re-enter the long. It goes to show that no indicator or no method of style of trading is going to be perfect, because to me, that's usually on a parabolic stock, a mean reversion type of trade for a short. It ends up being an entry back into the long. As a matter of fact, here, if you look at it, all you've done on AMD, 200 period bounce on the daily, and then the entirety of the move from yesterday's lows. They filled the gap, not to the high, but filled the gap in. It's starting to look maybe like the day's trend. Let me get rid of that trend line and use the real one here. The day's trend, this could be breaking as we speak. Maybe AMD, oh, not yet, not even close. This has to lose $168 to lose the trend on the day. It's only at 168.60. It's not there yet. I think this is setting up that you could have a decent mean reversion, but I think you got to use a tighter trend line if you want to play off this local high at 169.50.
Yeah, I like this. Again, I'm still on this weekly chart here on the tickers that I'm watching, and oh boy, has AMD come a long ways. Some of these lines I totally forgot. I drew in like way before in 2020, 2023. Shout out to my longs that are definitely, or anybody who's sitting along in this ticker here. AMD pushing all the way to its highs, 227s. But take a look at this bigger picture structure that's been going on in the weekly here. Little chop, a bit of a trend, a ranging trend to the downside here after we attempted to push these previous all-time highs, and right now we kind of reclaim that level, 165s and some change right there. Yeah, take it easy, Sharif. Yeah, 22730s, but you can see a nice little methodic kind of price action there, and we kind of come into some of these prior highs. So I'm kind of measuring it like that, and we're coming in right there. So I don't really want that wick. But when that selling kind of starts to begin, and then the second point off of the second strong selling that kind of comes in, and we're coming right back into this week, and the week is at its end, Neil. So it should be interesting. And that selling comes in. What's that? It's
the end of the week today?
It is the end of the week.
Dang.
So selling coming in at some peculiar levels off of an event that AMD had just yesterday. If you guys were watching, nice, beautiful sell the news event. But oh boy, do we catch a bid like crazy today and pretty much revert all the way back into prior day's range as if nothing really happened. So that's definitely interesting price action there. So I'll be watching this reference high, event reference high, 172 on AMD. Could be interesting, but oh boy, has the trend been quite strong on the day today. Extension off of VWAP, very, very extended, I would say. But let's see if anything comes out of that going forward on the day today. AMD should be interesting in the coming weeks. Again, chips are definitely leaders of this market, and we got to keep our eyes on them. And they seem like they're kind of ramping up, building up a little bit there for a bigger picture. And people were talking about, oh, are we going to see all-time highs? We were talking about that a few weeks ago, and SPY is at all-time highs once again today.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we definitely.
That's the answer to that one. Is that, and that's the thing about a bull market. You're always going to be. It's so weird. Like, people get so complacent in a bull market. It's like everything will look good. The Fed on your side. Every day you have multiple stocks making 52-week or all-time highs. Your market leaders are starting to come back. You got bottom feeders that are breaking out, like Snowflake did today, like SoFi is doing right now. But we always find something to complain about in the bull market, like, oh, it can't continue, or this can't work, or whatever it is. I mean, heck, CrowdStrike's having a good day today, so it's amazing. You got to like it. Oh, Lou Menus in the chat here. Today is not Canadian Thanksgiving. Sean's off because it's Canadian Thanksgiving on Monday. So the actual Canadian holiday is on Monday. We'll be here because the U.S. markets are open, and that's how we roll. If you're a trader, your holidays are when the U.S. markets are closed. That's just how it is. But Sean's off because he's spending he's basically spending the Thanksgiving up north with family. So they got to start on that today. So it is not a holiday in Canada, although my daughter's school was off today for like a PA day or something like that, or PD day.
Yeah. We get like a long weekend.
Well, I mean, the kids do, but like
that's what I mean.
I mean, parents got to still work when they have these PD days. That's just how they do it. So AMD, I actually think this is starting to set up for a reversion short.
Boy.
Just like it has to. I was saying 168, but the longer this happens, each time you put a new candle in, you got a little bit of a higher level, but it still needs to close underneath this trend line for me. I am still in SMCI, but it took another leg out there. Market's starting to roll over a bit. It just got up to 63s. Right up into this top. I still have some orders a little bit higher. It's gliding higher as the market's slowly rolling over, so it still feels like it's okay. The other cause for concern here would be what I see happening over in Nvidia, because Nvidia just lost 135 again. That's another sign that we could be heading into the downside. So I like the fact that SMCI is still climbing while we're going back in here, but at some point, I'm going to try and get in that short in AMD. Feels like it's going to be coming in pretty quickly here. Adara.
We're going to take a look here and recap what happened during the midday session in case you missed it or weren't trading during this. We had lots of strength in Bitcoin. Bitcoin reclaiming the 62,000 level. Tickers like COIN and MSTR are really strong off of that. In terms of new news, though, it was a bit of a lighter session. We had comments from Fed's Bowman that was explicitly noted she did not make any comments with regards to monetary policy, so not much to react to there. Generally, we're having the market, as of right now, pull back a little bit after making new all-time highs for that S&P 500, which is still outperforming the NASDAQ. We did get PPI this morning, still reactions to that, higher than expected on a year-over-year basis, in line or below expectations on a month-over-month basis. Now, in terms of next week, it's going to be a lighter week for economic data, though earnings are going to get exciting. We did have JP Morgan and Wells Fargo kicking off the bank earnings and the earnings season as a whole this morning. We're going to see next week more bank earnings from names like Charles Schwab, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs earlier in the week. Then later in the week, we'll get names like TSM, ASML, and Netflix, NFLX reporting. So should be a pretty exciting week to keep an eye on as we get to move down here in the market. Also worth noting, ongoing talks here with regards to the Middle East, seeing that apparently they're reading some things here about the Iran oil supply, so going to figure out the exact headline on that. And this is what we have here right now in the SPY, guys.
Wait a minute.
Shorts are coming.
Why didn't I hear that? I'm just going to make sure I actually have my news service turned on there. Yeah, that was a bit of a spike to the downside, by the way. That was a bit intense. Nvidia, no, this is going to bounce. I feel if this was something on like in Israel in the Middle East, because I just got into AMD and I feel like it didn't actually break the trend. So here's what happened on AMD. I'm stopping out at 60 level. The last few times this has happened, it's been a bit of a buy zone. And on this chart, it did not break the trend line. And on another one, which I drew it poorly, it did. I'm going to have a very tight stop on this short because I feel like we could just go bouncing if this was just a Middle East headline. Usually it's been a reversion right away. Adara?
News here, what's going on in the Middle East. We do have apparently U.S. Targeting here Iran oil exports with sanctions after this attack from Israel. We know we've heard for the past few weeks a lot about Israel attacking Iran's oil supply. So that headline coming through could be potentially that move, but just worth noting that is what's going on here. Keep an eye on USO as well with that headline, guys.
All right, thank you. Yeah, no, that selling comes in quite aggressively there, so got to keep an eye on that one. Just laughing in the chat earlier, they were talking about sleep and how sleep is kind of like, I guess I was like, bad sleep is definitely correlated to my trading performance. And then Kyle Burdett asked me, how many kids do I have? And I was like, none that I know of yet. But no, he was like, oh, you should have 4 and then talk about sleep quality. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's fair, that's fair.
I can't argue with. I have 1. I'll tell you right now. Like, you know, Sean's got 3, and it changes your life, and all in good ways. But sleep. Oh, I 100% agree. I wear my Whoop. I track my sleep. I mostly wear this because I've had sleep issues in the past. If your head ain't in it and you're not refreshed, you're gonna have some trouble. Very quickly on that headline. Oil futures didn't do a heck of a lot, but it's past 230 on a Friday, so that actually makes sense. Indo tried to spike. I looked over. It's doing nothing. Absolutely nothing on INDO. Usually I would look for some kind of a punch in on that, but just nothing happening there. So we did get AMD, but I still maintain on a better drawn trend line, like on a tighter drawn trend line, which I've redrawn, it didn't actually break. And this matters. And actually, usually for this type of a trade, like it's a mean reversion trade, I don't really want to be getting in on a headline. The idea is that it does it on its own as a reversion, ideally. So I'm going to go with a pretty tight stop. Look, if it ends up breaking the trend, I'm going to cover some and wait for it to close underneath, right? Because I feel like I'm in it early. If it does end up start working, gets underneath, I'll just get some out break even. I want it closing underneath the trend line. So there it goes. It stops out. And I cannot be in that trade early just because of a headline came in. And it's not a candle which is closing underneath that trend line. So yeah, tight stop, but it violated a rule. We should be closing under that candle. Then we get the mean reversion idea back into view ops. I still like to trade if it actually sets up. That's what's more important. And where is it? Robin Sandu, 170 EO day, don't fight the trend on AMD. I agree. Like there's the trend. It didn't actually break. I get in because it looked like it had to me. I got to close underneath that candle, and that'll give me an entry with maybe a little bit of a wider stop. But that's the setup. You always have to make sure that the trade fits your setup. If it doesn't, then you shouldn't be in it because the market doesn't care. The market is perfectly willing to reward you for trading against your own trading setup. So there goes SMCI. The thing I like about SMCI is, as I said, like even as the market's dipping there, where's the dip in SMCI? It's not happening. SMCI is just climbing after it broke higher. The chips are generally strong. I feel like this is the right one to be in. I'm not gonna offer again until we get into the 80s. We'll get into the 80s there. And I just saw behind me, you can't sneak up on me now, Randy, because for the first time in forever, I actually saw you walk behind me. It works 99 times out of 100. If I'm talking and paying attention to my chart, I will not notice Randy sneak up behind me. You're still here it's late on a Friday and you're actually here, but we can't do brisket. We couldn't do brisket today because Sean was off. So see, this is what keeps happening. We've been talking about doing brisket on Fridays, but then Randy, you're never here on Friday. And then the one day that you are here, coincidentally, I
was like, what was that action? What was that action? And then, wow, that was funny. That was a good one. That was a good one, Fabian.
Okay, in a real sense.
That was real. That was real. That was real.
I actually have arachnophobia. Everyone thinks that's funny. The only time I'm not afraid of spiders is if there's one and my daughter's around and I have to do it, then like I'll get that like dad bravery. But that was completely genuine. You 100% got me. I'm a little shook right now. It's fine. You could probably, what's my heart rate right now? Let me just check my Whoop.
It's like, oh boy.
I'm gonna do some breathing in here.
Yeah, you gotta take a nice little,
monitor. Where we at?
Woosah.
We're at 97, legit 97. So I was probably just over 100 on my heart rate. Good. That was a good one. You got me. Yeah. You got me.
No, I saw that like sharp movement. I was like, what's happening? Yeah, it's October, Spooktober, whatever you want to call it. Nice. I like it. Yeah, no, I was not expecting that. I like that. Shout out to Fabian for keeping us active and awake. Got to keep that resting heart rate. You can't be resting heart rate all the time, right, Neil? You got to have a little bit of movement.
When you're trading, you actually do want your heart rate to be lower.
Yes, for sure.
And by the way, just real talk, like as that was happening, AMD broke the trend line.
Yes, it did.
So
we saw that coming.
This was me
called it.
getting out before it broke, because I was in before it broke the trend line. Then I get scared because Fabian decided to, hey, it was a great joke. We're here to have some fun. But now I need to actually get into this trade. You got me good. You know what? It's way better doing that. And I'm not going to name any names because I'm not a snitch, straight up. But there was a former risk manager on this floor who, when I was risk managing the floor, and it was not Sean. Sean was doing trading floor directing at this time, so he was in the back office. And we're on the bridge, and this other manager decided that I got up to go to the bathroom or whatever, go to a meeting, whatever it was. He decided to actually trap a real spider and like leave a cup on the desk. Then I'm like, what's under this cup? And it was an actual spider. You know, that wasn't cool. I'm just saying. I'm not naming any names.
I love spiders.
They know who they were, and they're probably not watching right now, but they know who they were. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Was this person in the office recently, or?
Oh, it's not who you're thinking.
Okay, never mind.
100% it's not.
All right.
It was not Greg. And then AMD doesn't work.
No, I wasn't thinking about Greg, but okay.
Yeah. No, it's all good. I can't believe it.
Yeah, no, that sell-off came in quite aggressively. You can see here on the spider there as well, and then bought right back up, kind of corrected. So that buying pressure, oh boy, man, and that buying pressure is still here. So definitely the market is very, very strong today. A lot of these names ripping to the upside. AMD specifically is what I'm talking about. The spider as well. These are all-time highs, 580s. Oh boy. We're coming into, I guess, almost the year end, Neil. So we were talking about this, I guess, earlier this year, being like, okay, are we going to see all-time highs at all this year? So I want to take a quick look, go down, I guess, memory lane, maybe perhaps on the spider. Let's take a look at the weekly and see how we've been coming in on the year here. And oh boy, we had some strong fears along the way. In 2024, I remember in April, we were like, oh, is this the top? In July, we were like, oh, is this the top? Nope. We just continue. We buy right back up and continue to, I guess, melt to the upside. And I talked to a few traders about this as well over time, being like, oh, well, the spider is almost rigged to do well, because what they do is they take in the best performers and they kick out all the companies that are performing the worst. And over time, we've had, I guess, again, you can factor it to many different things, but you have companies that are going to be making more and more money and getting bigger and bigger. And so that just leaves us poised to kind of just do really, really well on the spider. And I think that's the whole idea behind kind of this ETF and I guess a lot of the long thesis behind this. You can see that aggressive selling that we had in 2020 right there. These are the COVID lows. We've come up very aggressively off of those. This is 09s. Again, the housing crisis 08. I guess you have about 01s as well, to bleed off after the tech bubble burst as well. And we've only been ticking up. Sure, again, this is a long stretch of downtrend right here for about 3 years. That's a bit rough, but it seems like as of late, every little sell-off that happens, even if we sell off for like 3 or 4 weeks straight, continues to be bought up, and we continue to push all-time highs. So definitely, when it comes to the swing on this one, the trend is definitely your friend, Neil, and the spider continues. The arachnid continues to climb up the water spout, and this spout doesn't seem like it's...
Don't even think I don't know what you're doing. Everybody knows what you're doing.
What am I doing?
There isn't a trader alive that calls it the spider. It's the spy.
No, there's people who call it the spider.
What traders on this floor have ever called it?
Maybe not in this floor.
It's the spy. I know what you're doing.
There's
all good.
Traders.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, it's called the spider. SPYDER.
I'm gonna just change the subject to SoFi, because SoFi, what an unbelievable rally SoFi has been having today, and so many people in the chat are interested in SoFi. And shout out to SoFi. I am not a bag holder in this stock because I own it at like 7 something. So therefore, I'm in the money on SoFi. It has been a dumpster fire. But anytime, and look, let's be real about this one for a second. See how I can do that? Let's be real about this. Even though it's in the money, it's like, what could you have been in? Literally everything you could have been in instead of SoFi. Like, look at Robinhood, look at Coin, like just anything would have worked better. Any other traditional banks have all done fantastically. But you've done a lot of things. Rounded bottom. You finally broke through the 860. You've got trend. You've got this little trend which broke out. So let me actually draw that one for you. You got that trend that broke out. Now you guys are just laughing amongst yourselves. And
No. You said a rounded bottom, so I look over with an intrigued face, and Fabian's laughing at that.
It is a rounded bottom, and it is breaking out, and it is through $9, and SoFi actually looks pretty good. Someone's calling. Who cares? I don't recognize that number. So SoFi, super strong. There was a volume spike when it broke the local high through 9 even. So I think a consolidation above 9 looks pretty. You guys in the chat are having a lot of fun with this. I think that's amazing. Random oddities. See, what's hilarious about this? The second you tell somebody not to do, like, don't Google image search and then vinegaroon. So obviously, the first thing that comes into my mind is that I want to do it because I'm a human being. But I'm smart enough not to because it's probably like really ridiculously, disgustingly scary. So $9 here on SoFi needs to hold this consolidation, maybe take out the top, and then we can have like some trend continuation this afternoon on it. It looks like Indo did eventually start going. See, like the volume is trash on this, but it is actually making the move. So I didn't take this on that news because I felt like oil wasn't making a huge move and the volume wasn't doing anything. But then Indo does start going there. So not that bad. Really just in this SMCI still. Tracking over on Nvidia to see if it's going to actually hold on to this 135 level. It can't seem to claw through VWAP. You know, if we're under 135, the market's at highs and this is underneath VWAP. There's got to be something else. Like if I'm looking for a reversion, what is Palantir doing? Because Palantir was the only thing I was short like pretty much the entirety of the day. No, this is now rounding through the bottom. Maybe a fail of $43. It's still trend down, but it's rounded bottom looking like it wants to break it out. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of what looks like. I know Obi short the market, but I'm looking at this. And it's like, if we're going to lose the top, I want to short something weak. That's why I came over to Palantir. Like 43 or like VWAP makes some sense. Nvidia could make some sense. I know Apple's been weak all day. Apple's now above VWAP.
I Google searched it. I was like, this is very interesting.
Yeah, just keep that to yourself.
It's like an arachnid scorpion. That's great. That's sick. That's like a spider with armor. And like a stinger. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. That's definitely pretty cool. I like that.
Oh, it's cool. That's fine. Legitimately arachnophobic. Legitimately, I'm not making it up.
Like
I'm not acting.
You're like diagnosed.
I'm not pretending. I'm not.
Is this self-diagnosed?
I'm not going to sleep well tonight. That's fine. If I saw that image, I probably would. You know.
It looks
it's the
cool.
thing. Like, I'm not afraid to admit it either. Like, you could you put a snake in front of me. I don't care. Yeah. You know, like a lion. First of all. I had this conversation with Sharif. It's like a lion's just a killing machine, so everyone should be afraid of it or you're a fool. But like, you know, like a non-lethal snake, like whatever, get out of here. I got no problems with that. Or regular bugs. It's just I got a problem with spiders. So it is what it is. I'm still trying to look for things that are weak.
I might know
all of that.
I might know a little something about some cool cats. I'm telling you, if you ever encounter a lion, you got to hit it with the pss, 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 and maybe, you know, give it a little pss, pss, and see how it acts.
Yeah, you could do that.
You never know. They're just really large house cats. That's what I've found. They're like the behaviors and everything. They're just really large house cats. And sure, maybe you don't want to get on its bad side because a little bit of a paw can definitely leave you, I guess, armless.
Yeah, to me, there's two kinds of people in this world.
Yeah.
There's people that are like, oh, I'm cool with lions and tigers and bears. And then there's smart people. You do you all you want, man. And the funny thing is, I don't even have to be faster than everybody. I got to be able to be faster than the dude next to me. I'm so out of dodge, and I'm not even messing around. And Eddie R., there was a childhood experience involved with it. There usually is, and there was one. I'm not going to bother telling the story. Y'all don't want to hear that.
Oh, with the arachnophobia.
Yeah. There always is one. But shoot, now I lost my train of thought. Apple's strong. There was something I was going to look at as if the market can't break the high. It was not the SPY. You keep saying it, but that doesn't actually make it true, Obi. It might have been Amazon. Amazon's strong as above you up. It'll come to me. Right now, still just an
Alphabet's looking
SMCI.
interesting.
Oh, Alphabet.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Alphabet. Alphabet's super strong
consolidation.
as well. There was something that is weak, and it's not Tesla.
Oh.
Whatever. It'll come to me. And it wasn't
take a quick
Palantir either, all of a sudden.
It's not a Mag 7, was it?
No,
Palantir, maybe? Palantir.
Palantir's at the 43.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at that now. There was something else.
Yeah.
There was something else weak that I had in my brain that I've lost the train of thought. But I'm just going to look at my list. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
But Palantir's at that 43 level, so I am going to take the shot on Palantir short. It's essentially just this low where I shorted it before. Now it's trying to curl off the same level. So if we don't break the high of the day, I'd rather short a weak stock than a strong one. I'm trying to keep it relatively simple there. And it wasn't Nvidia either. CompuNet says CCL. It wasn't CCL, but maybe it should be CCL. Shout out to you. Was that Computronet? Ivan. I'm just going to call Ivan. Thank you. CCL. That's a good one. It wasn't what I was thinking of, but that's the idea. Like, I want to be short. Like, rather at these highs, short something which is weak. Tesla's at 219, not 220, so it's not Tesla. It'll come to me eventually. Like 220 on Tesla would make a little bit of sense. It was something that was at a relatively decent level. I just keep looking at everything on my iPad. I'm sure eventually I'll come up with it. But I really like this CCL now. Palantir is already at the level, so I feel like this is one that we can grab, or at least I can grab. So if it breaks 43, it's kind of an easy out there. Give it a couple cents. We had this conversation. Not we had this conversation. It was Satya, and one of the lessons of this week is like where to put stop orders. Now, if you have something which has to the bottom has a 40-cent range here, so 43 down to 46, 42.6, 20 cents from the last break. Like, you can give it 5 to 10 cents. However, I don't know that you want to automatically put a stop if it breaks 01. I think sometimes just putting it a little bit above, give it a couple of extra cents, knowing that you can capture a bigger move, still get some out at 1-to-1, because I think that's something I'm always going to do here. But again, just sort of respect that even dollar is like an easy rinse level. And as I say that, worth noting, like the last time it retested 43, it actually went to 43 even and did not break. All the more reason I think it could break it by a cent or two and still be a valid short. So we're going to be back into Palantir. That one sets up pretty well as well. John in the chat saying, look at this manipulation on Donkey Kong.
Oh, I haven't seen that ticker in the longest.
You're going to keep in mind, like, it's on a Friday with lighter volume. You're going to see a heck of a lot more just weird stuff go on in terms of like barcoding stocks. But DraftKings, there must have been, I mean, I guess you rinse on a little bit of bad news and just buy it right back up. That's always so dirty when they do stuff, when stuff like that happens. That can be frustrating. What was the headline on this one? I know there was some talk of like taxation. Was it a story on taxation for gambling firms? Actually, I see something on Caesars here. Labor considers up to a $3 billion tax rate on gambling firms, but that was for like that was in London. So maybe you had like the algos rinse on that. Anytime this happens, I think like maybe a hold of VWAP in there. A bunch of people are trapped short the stock and it hasn't broken the high of the day. So if people are trapped short and it hasn't broken the high, back into VWAP might look like a bit of a long entry there on DraftKings. That's not cool. You always hate when that happens because you definitely trap some people short. That's an entry I take a lot of times myself. Big volume break on any kind of a news story, the pullback into the prior high, short here. Ideally, you take some out so you're not destroyed, but that's a pretty nasty break back out to the upside. Yeah,
the thing is, I think it's quite wild there. Only about a minute left, 30 seconds left until we get into Power Hour, Neil. And I just want to go through some of the strongest, the largest volume gainers of the day here in the U.S. markets here. Futures kind of sideways, kind of consolidation. We got that strong leg reversion, not right off the open on the NASDAQ, but right off of the open on the ES there. That strength coming in very aggressively, giving us about almost 50 points worth of a move there off of the open on the ES. But the NQ, that one was interesting. Sold off initially and then broke trend. Nice little bounce off of 20,320. And then now we're getting that sideways chop and consolidation as well. I was wondering in the morning, oh boy, is this really going to be a day where both the ES and the NQ are distinctly different and they're going to be going opposite ways? But the NQ was like, not without me, you don't, ES. and nice little rip city to the upside there. It's aggressive action that came in. What is that? That low was around, I guess around 930, 945-ish. We got that strength coming in on the NASDAQ. So let's go through, let's take a quick look. We'll go to the 15-minute chart here so we can capture a little bit more of the price action, maybe the past couple of days too, to take a look at some reference prices as well. Nvidia, top volume gainer on the day. We know what that's been doing, a little bit sideways. We had that 135 push, nice little consolidation underneath the level now. So it continues to act as a bit of resistance. So we did get above only about 78 pennies. So I'm curious to know what this will show up as on the bigger picture as a 135 test. But nice, well, a bigger picture I can tell already is starting to look a little bit of like a wick through that 135 resistance that we had over the past couple of days. But it should be interesting going forward what we do in and around that 135. But as you can see, after that size finally broke, we've washed the level a couple of times. And so maybe not as significant anymore. Who are these guys? TWG. So done about 129 volume. Yeah, exactly. Done about 129 mil, 2 million shares float. This thing maybe a little bit potential for manipulation there. But what I've realized as of recent is that this might be some of the names I should be taking a closer look at to find some edge. So I have been looking at smaller mid caps more and more lately. Haven't really taken too many trades on them per se, but I'm definitely watching and kind of like just stalking the ticker for anything that I can potentially hunt down on something like this. So yeah, definitely interesting ticker here. Look at that reversion that comes in, beautiful right there on TWG, second top gainer on the day today. And Tesla, we know what Tesla's been doing. Tesla has been fading to the downside. Can't really catch a bounce. Attempted a bounce towards that 222s. We talk about that 222. So we actually got there around 1030, but nice little flush city back down going into the midday there, that 222 rejection. So we were talking about that potential support becoming into resistance, and resistance it did become there at that level. And now we're kind of consolidating near the lows. Palantir as well. This one's been a hot name over the past couple of weeks. Bit of a sell-off today on a Friday after a failure to follow through of that morning action there on Palantir. Now we got Zena as well, another potential mid to small cap, doing lots of relative volume here. Oh boy, we're doing 10,000, 15,000 relative volume in the pre-market. This one definitely missed my radar there this morning. But fade coming off of the pre-market action, pre-market highs there. So nice little move on Zena. So yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys have been trading any of these names. We know DJT was quite hot in the pre-market, but oh boy, we kind of sell off aggressively. I guess after that opening candle, can't really push through some of these pre-market levels here on DJT. So that's definitely interesting. We know a lot of people are watching this ticker with elections on the horizon as well. So definitely a good look. TIGR, we know this one has been moving with the China basket and a strong push today. But take a look at this. Since that gap down day that we had on Tuesday and a strong sell-off on Monday on some of these China names, we've been pretty much following through a little bit there to the downside on names like this. So another strong ticker. Now, again, we had some earnings today from Wells Fargo and JPM. We saw how those banks did, but one doing the most volume right now is BAC. And oh boy, look at this opening drive on BAC, straight through pre-market highs, 40.73s all the way up to 42s on Bank of America, doing about 35 million volume on the day with about an hour left. NEO as well. We know EVs have been kind of interesting. AMD has been on the watch for sure. We talked about that 166 level, and look at what we did when we did get past that 166 on the pullback of 166, hold and continue to trend back up into yesterday's range. So a lot of opportunity on the day today. SoFi as well, taking it to the upside. Intel, oh boy, this one, again, a lot of these tech names ran right off of the open there, and Intel was definitely one of those names. Very aggressive push and breaking through weekly highs right there. So the week high before this was yesterday at 23.50. We tested a high of 23.82 today. So nothing too crazy, but if you were looking at some of these lows to catch a bid off of, oh boy, did it give you that bid off of that 23 level on Intel. We know Mara has been doing ALTM. This one's a buyout, Neil, and this one's continuing to do some decent volume. But that first day, that was crazy. This thing did like what, over 150 million in the pre-market? That's absolutely
it was a lot
wild.
of fun. I actually, I trade those on the side just so you guys can see what it looks like when these stocks don't move. I was involved in it, but it wasn't doing a lot of volume. Like yesterday, like the last 2 days, on the first day, it was wild, like in and out. Like it did hundreds of millions of shares worth of volume, so it was pretty good. I cannot complain about it at all. But today, there's not a lot of action. 30 million in volume seems good, but it's not that good. So I am into Affirm. We'll get to that in a second, but I'll go to SoFi first. Not SoFi. Somebody typed SoFi in the chat, and then I had SoFi in my brain, and instead of going over to Palantir, I went to SoFi. So Palantir, like that 43 level, short at 95. I put my stop at 2, so it wasn't exactly at evens, so I am out of it now. If it gets to VWAP, maybe. But that's a simple one. Shorting it off this level, it breaks it out. I'm either looking for a retrace down into 80s, like 90s to 80s to 70s to 60s is the name of the game. But the other thing that happened in there, didn't want to interrupt. Oh, where's my pretty little trend line that I drew? So obviously Affirm, whatever. Like if you do this, here, it kind of works. It's really not that clean. I can connect a little bit, but you get the idea. Affirm broke trend. So Affirm just broke the trend. And if you look at the tighter trend line up here, up at the top, like this one, since the high of the day break, which a lot of times I would observe, it kind of already broke it in there. So scalping Affirm, it's just a similar thing. I'm looking for mean reversion. It's either mean reversion, short weak stock at a key level, buy strong stock on a dip of like a VWAP or something like that, or a higher low that we can work off of. So the next thing that happened was Affirm breaking the day-long trend line. Already got 70s in. Stop is just above 90. Just took some at 50, which is 1-to-1. So we'll work this one to the downside. SMCI, which we're still in, that's breaking higher. You know what? Let me just get on 79. I was just realizing I'm sitting on the other side of 80. This is offer 79. If there's just sellers at 80, offer 79 instead of 82. It just makes some sense. So if we break that high, we'll get a little bit more out. It's just gently gliding higher. When every time the market pulled back, and especially when there was that, I don't know, it was like the Iran headline, it just didn't dip. So it felt pretty good. Probably had a chance at a reload in here at about 230. Just didn't pull the trigger on it. We're just going to hang on to it, let it work its way back into 48, which is an obvious resistance spot. I mean, if you can't tell, 48 was a problem. I don't know what you're looking at. Look at that. Not too good. That's what a false breakout can look like, and why I had a tight stop on that Nvidia trade this morning. Because if you get trapped in one of these, you're like, oh, it's a long. It broke. It's going to be a long forever. You can get destroyed averaging back into a failed breakout trade or just kind of holding on to it forever. So if we get to 48, I'm taking my profits on the way up.
Yeah, that's definitely something there, Neil. So again, can't be fighting the trend like I did this morning. And yeah, that Uber was definitely. Let's take a quick look at Uber and see what that thing's been up to. Oh boy, to the upside. So definitely taking a ride here on this price action. Take a look at this, holding VWAP early on, breaking through that 82, 83 mark, and then aggressively pulling back up. And we were talking about this, so I guess I can talk about this because this is a trade that I guess I didn't do too well on in the morning session, and I can talk about it. My original idea. Now this is something I have to work on. So let me know in the chat if you guys have any sort of experience with this kind of mindset. And I talked to Neil about this as well. I'm very thankful to again sit beside Neil and kind of talk about some of my weaknesses and how I can potentially kind of work on them as well. So the idea was Uber pushing all-time highs on this action there. We again robotaxi news, a little bit of a sympathy or I guess an inverse kind of play there, gapping up on this while Tesla sells off. And then we get that push into all-time highs. And then all-time highs was, I think it was 182.17s, but pre-market highs were a little bit higher. So I was like, all right, I'm going to look. If the bid is real, where will it catch was the question, right? So going down to a 3-minute, because that's what I like to trade off of, it actually caught after giving a strong drive through that pre-market high and coming back into VWAP and holding, and then continuing back up through that opening range high and holding again on a low to continue the trend to the upside. So my thought process, this is one of my weaknesses right now in trading that I'm going to work on, that I am working on, and definitely will get it out of my system with some meaningful practice there. But flipping the bias, right? Original bias was getting long for the breakout continuation of Uber all-time highs on that gap up volume. A gap give and go per se, a little bit of a pullback and the bid hold. And then we see that happen in the pre-market. We flush in the pre-market down to 81s and then push up higher. So you could say that that move came in a little bit before the open, but I was like, all right, well, you missed the trade because 83 was just shy of 83 was that pre-market high, 82.80s, 82.70s. And then I'm like, all right, well, the long is gone. My original idea is done. And then I'm trying to get short, and I'm trying to force that trade short and then get caught offside fighting the trend, which is, again, another I guess, a weakness of mine. But again, that's something that I got to work on. And before we continue this talk, we're going to say what's up to Dara.
With regards to DraftKings here, I'm seeing a story on this. This is coming out of Britain. Apparently, there's some ministers in Britain considering a tax rate of up to £3 billion here on the gambling sector. Basically, apparently, this is out of a look for funds to help shore up the public finances. So basically, looking for funds here. Part of that attempt would be to basically have a tax rate here on the gambling sector. So again, potential £3 billion tax rate of gambling has DKNG and some of these other gambling names, FLUT, and also CZR on watch here, guys.
Volume coming in. Thank you, Dara.
Yeah, it was a huge volume spike downside that got reverted back up here on DraftKings. And there was a question in the chat. Someone was asking there, didn't see who it was. I have to actually zoom up. It was the Piper. Sure, I'm assuming you mean, are you sure Affirm isn't bouncing off the 50 period on the 1 minute? So ultimately, like you got to trade on your own indicators. I don't put up a 50 on a 1. The chart I was using for the trend was a 3, although I would argue, like if I put this same trend line, one of the cool features here at Real Trading on the platform, Pete Pro 8, is like it'll transpose. If I draw a trend line on my 3 minute, it's just going to put it on my 15 minute or an hourly chart, not the daily, but anything that's going to be intraday. So if I'm trading this on a mean reversion, like if my idea is break the trend, close under, and do a short setup here, like look at the rejecting wick. If that's my reason for getting in, if I'm someone that uses the 50 period or like the 9 or whatever it might be, the 21, whatever it might be, the moving average, I might want that for confirmation. But if I don't use it, I don't care about it. So you just try to have like your own trade ideas. If I were to find, let's say, after doing this trend a bunch, like these trend line breaks, I find that, hey, adding a moving average to it or adding Fibonacci's to it or something works for me, I'm all for it. But I don't really try to conflate those things. Like this is the idea. It's the trend into here. It's the scalp into here. It's the hold if it breaks to 47. Because I think if it loses 47, you should get a much deeper retracement trade. That's the idea for it. Like relatively tight stop on that last little wick. It's breaking a bit of a trend line. It's not really about trying to throw a bunch of different things out of it that I think might just confuse me. Coffee Trader made a really good point, and I'm not to call anybody out because I did this on Nvidia the other day. He said, you traded Uber poorly today. I was long and still managed to be run on it. LOL, it happens. It's so true. And I'll tell you, I know because you were just mentioning. Yeah, do you want to speak on what I was talking about, well, like flipping that bias, not looking for that continuation trade, and being like, all right, well, I missed the initial, so now the only trade left for me is the other way. So it's like I was looking for a long, I missed it, so now I'm thinking, okay, well, the only thing I can do now is revert it, but that's not necessarily, what I'm realizing is that's not a good way to think at all. Like if the trade is real and if it's actually strong, you want to look for that pullback to hold and fail to follow through for that continuation of your original idea. And I think that's what Neil was giving that Neilage, that wisdom. Well, I didn't trade. We had this conversation because we actually, like, the second we were off air, the first thing we did is we started talking about Uber because that was one of the trades this morning. And I didn't think I traded it very well myself, despite being up on it. And that was it was the nuance between getting a good entry and a bad one. Like I could have had the same price in. It's hard. This is a 3-minute. It doesn't really. I'm going to keep it on 3-minute. So I had the initial break of the high. Can I zoom more? So whatever. I'm just going to keep it zoomed out a little bit here. Take that off. I don't want to accidentally draw a trend line. So I had the break of the local high, the all-time high coming back through. Like right at the open, it breaks that local high, scalps them out. I'm like, okay, well, I want to be adding to this position if it's going to go up. It does this little bit of a rinse back down into the prior low. So I'm looking at this bar here. I'm like, if we're going to tight stop it, let's just go with that. But then I get in, and I get in, and then it starts bouncing, and I add to it. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? I'm basically taking it in the face of this big rejection candle, which, spoiler alert, was also a rejection of the high of the day. So it's a pre-market high rejection that I'm loading into the long here, and I realize instantly that's way too early to be taking it, and I immediately trimmed it. So you can see me getting out flat, have to trade there, and then on top of that, when it starts to show any resistance, I'm scalping it out when it's only like 30, 40 cents in the money, because I'm thinking it just rejected the high of the day. Ooh, this is an impatient entry. I should be waiting for something a little bit better. I don't think like the really good entry probably didn't actually show up for me there. So that was somewhere in here was about as good as I was ever going to get. But I then aggressively took some out there for a scalp trade. And it's not bad to take it out like 15s into like 50s. It's not horrible, but it was a much better move. And eventually when it broke out, I never found my way back into it. There's no such thing as a perfect execution. But I think sometimes like you can overthink things. I know I overthought it in there. I was right to be long, but you could always do better, everybody. SoFi continues to go. I just got to keep, right, so I got to go back over to Affirm, and I got to take a look at SoFi because I feel like that one's getting away. Like Affirm, now it's just going sideways off of 47.40. So we're 30 pennies in the money here. I do have a bid underneath, which doesn't even make any sense. If it's bouncing off 40, why have a bid 2 cents underneath 40? If it breaks 40, it's probably going to at least go the next 10 cents down. So I just move it to like 32 because I like Magic Johnson. He played for the Michigan State Spartans, like that team. So I'll go 32 instead of 33. I'm going to bid 32 if we break down further on Affirm. And now I can look at SoFi. SoFi holds on to $9. That's pretty solid. $9 exactly. Yeah, that's not going to be a trap. Go long. I jinx it for everybody. 9 breaks. I lose 4 cents. Oh, this actually does look pretty good. The volume's not great on SoFi. Buying highs, I don't know if that feels like the right thing to do in here. The market just attempted another break at the top on the NASDAQ. It's actually holding out above the highs, but you're getting the retest back under. So let's see this one try to close above here. We have enough time that we can try to hold above this 2048. And then on the ES, it's also trying to close back in that prior high. So let's see it hold on to that first. If we can do that, I don't mind SoFi here. I like the mean reversion trade that we got going on Affirm. Unfortunately, this is the one time that SMCI is deciding to pull back. I don't want this losing 42.5. Essentially, you've got like a 40-cent range on a $40 stock. It's not bad, but it's not really flying higher here and running into lower high resistance. So I don't want to lose this 47.50. I'm just going to trail it underneath that.
Yeah, and speaking of reversions, Neil, after we mentioned, I guess attention was brought to DraftKings here. I was looking at this trade right here. That's a beautiful reversion of an attempt at not all time highs, at day highs right there. Day highs at 39, 39.08, and DraftKings comes up to 38.98. So about 11 pennies away from the high and starts to catch a sell off of that. Look at that aggressive selling. As I'm speaking of it, rushing for that low a day there. So I want to take a quick look at the tape and see what is going on there on DraftKings. So let's pull that one up here. DKNG trades on the NASDAQ. So all right, so quickly we can take a quick look at that as it attempts to push back down to these lows that we got off of off of the catalyst. You can see the volume coming in off of the intraday catalyst, and we got a strong bid off of the dip right there, and that dip, interestingly, holding that consolidation from the morning session right here. So the morning session consolidation low right there at 38.30s ish, and you can see that little attempt to break down below that, and then rips right back up, holds it actually on this second kind of a pullback and then leg back up to the upside there. Can't really get through, but look at that reversion is what I'm talking about. Absolutely beautiful as we fail to follow through into that 39, pulling back about 50 to 60 pennies now, back below VWAP on DraftKings. So that's pretty much a full-on reversion, almost 100% of what it did off of that strong bid that did come in on that news there. So let us know in the chat. Have you guys been trading DraftKings? There's another name that I guess Finch Jane is talking about, Carvana, CVNA. Let's take a quick look at that one, see what that one's been up to. You're calling this one a monster. This one, I guess they're bigger monsters in the sea today when it comes to range and price action and volatility. But this thing is definitely one that's interesting. And if you mean a monster by looking at it on the higher time frame, that is definitely correct, as this thing has been coming right back up. Again, this one we talk about rounded bottoms, Neil. This is a textbook example of a rounded bottom right here at the lows right there, and then we talk about kind of a nice little bounce off of that, and we've been getting
nice
a
bounce, huh?
Crazy bounce, right? We talked about that right in the pre-market. We talked about another nice rounded bottom giving us a nice support to come off of, and now a lot of people can call this different things: cup and handle, smiley face, whatever. It's like, okay, we got aggressive selling, we can't sell off anymore. Again, you get a little bit of a cheeky action before the bounce on that move, and a nice little breakout of
I have a legit
resistance.
question for you.
What's up?
Okay, so you're in the SPY right now.
Okay.
And I'm like, admittedly, I usually look at the NASDAQ when I'm tracking as opposed to the SPY. But I'm looking at the NASDAQ, and if you're playing like a mean reversion or like a short off the top, the NASDAQ, the Qs actually looks, not just because I hate spiders.
Yep.
Maybe that's part of it. No, but this actually looks like you had big volume spike breaking the high of the day.
Yeah, no, I got out
and then
on
you did
that.
a topping tail candle underneath. Like the Q, I don't know if the SPY has the same setup. And then when you go to the daily, let me zoom way in here on the Qs. And then when you look at it on the daily chart, you are at a obviously pretty big resistance level at the 495. So like you're actually rejecting a big one on the NASDAQ, and you just did a topping tail candle right in here. Like SPY over, is it like you only like the SPY over the Qs, or is it the setup actually looked better on the SPY?
No, so I was just taking shots in here, but yeah, that volume, I didn't like it there anymore. So again, I was just like, you got to make some good decisions right now, and I did get out on that push right back above. But yeah, no, nothing too crazy there. I do agree with you. I don't think this thing, again, we're pushing all-time highs, can be fighting that trend as of right now. So yeah, no, Spider, very, very strong, poised to kind of close near all-time highs there as of right now. What's going on, Adara?
We have CVS on watch here. This one pushing a little bit lower here in the most recent 3-minute candle here. We did get a report from Reuters that is looking to exit its core infusion services businesses with the potential here of job cuts. We've heard some warnings from this company in recent weeks. So Breter is actually reporting that they're considering job cuts and exiting their core infusion services business. So keep an eye here on CVS.
Much sir. There, we just got that 32 print. Shout out to Showtime, Magic Johnson and the Lakers. Sean will be all over that reference. He knows what I'm talking about. I just got the 32 fill. I'm now gonna move. So usually, like for this short setup, I should have zoomed it in before. For this short setup, I'm going to usually stop out just above this prior high, so usually like an 85 or something like that. But now that it's broken the next leg down and are into this zone, break even. So I have one more bid in front of 20s. After that, we'll look for like the 47 level as, okay, SMCI must have just trailed out. So I'm going to go over SMCI in a second. But yeah, so bidding in front of 20s. If that breaks, we'll go to 47 even. Right now, my trail is at break even. It'll move if we fill the 20s and break underneath that. SMCI, I'm going to assume, didn't spike higher. No, it trailed out at break even. So we're out of SMCI. Like at some point, you got to ring the register. Like it just did this like topping tail rejection candle. We're almost at 330. Good trade, but I feel like it should have been, the way the market was screaming, I would have liked that to get to the 48 level. So you got to ring the register at some point. This feels like it should have been stronger. It would have, based on what it was doing before. What was that, Fabian? Okay. Now, see, Fabian's in my ear. I thought he was making a joke or something, but apparently not a big deal. A Reggie star. Oh, a Reggie.
Oh,
a Reggie.
okay. I get it.
Old man Neil didn't get that reference. Let's go over to Adara. We've got, I believe, some news at the green screen, or some stories at the green screen, I should say.
Around this time here every day, around 3:30, as we end the power hour and the trading day, and in this case week, what I like to do is look at the larger percentage movers in the S&P 500, both the upside and the downside. But today, because we're actually making new all-time highs on the SPY and pretty strong on the day, what I wanted to do was look at tickers that are moving down by 3% or more on the S&P 500, of which there are only 3. So let's get into these tickers and these stories. First up, we have AO Smith. This is AOS, trades on the NYSE. This company does water heating. Today, they actually reported their preliminary earnings per share and sales both below estimates, citing weakness in China sales, and there's some issues apparently with North America water heating demand as well. They also lowered their guidance for fiscal 2024, so some weakness here in AOS with regards to their preliminary sales and forecast. Next up, we have Align Technologies. This one's forecasted to report in a few weeks. They haven't confirmed that date yet, though, but earnings on watch for Align Technology, getting a price target decrease from Stifel, 350 to 285, though they did maintain a buy rating for ALGN. And last but not least, I know we've talked about this one, TSLA, but I want to take a bit of a different take on this. We are down about 8% after that CyberCab reveal last night. But it's worth noting, we have quite a few bearish takes maintained here from analysts. Highest price target of this list is going to be Cantor Fitzgerald, maintaining at 245. The lowest is Roth MKM, maintaining an $85 price target, saying they found the whole display, quote, underwhelming. So Roth, MKM, and a couple other analysts a bit bearish on TSLA. What a week here, guys.
Okay.
So thank you very much, sir. I was just talking to Obi about some rules here at Real Trading regarding trading. And actually, I forgot to mention this. And when we talk about it, Real Trading, like aftermarket, pre-market trading, I don't have it up anymore. I'll try to find it. If you weren't watching the morning show, and this is a big shout out to Real Trading, that Tesla event, okay, I got it up. Let me just open image and new tab. That Tesla event last night, one of the traders here, not on this floor, used to trade on this floor. And by the way, I congratulated him this morning. The trader that I'm showing this trade on, that traded overnight on Tesla, he actually hit lifetime 1 million. The 1 million mark in trading revenue for the firm, for lifetime, for him. So congratulations. I don't want to have to give his name, but he's a good friend, and he couldn't be happier. Yep. But he was trading on the blue ocean market during the I forget the name of the event, but whatever, the cyber taxi event.
Yeah,
no, they had an actual name for it. It was
We
Robot event.
Yeah.
He was taking, had a long in there. He got a breakout trade that was great. He had a breakout through 45. He had a dip buy into VWAP that worked as well. This thing was at $252 last night. It was during the event, they were buying it up. So that opportunity exists. Now here at Real Trading, you can trade. You can trade in the aftermarket because of the blue ocean market. I can't speak for other brokers. Sorry. Maybe I'm going to make a guess that there's got to be a lot of other places potentially where you might be able to. I just know it's very seamless here at Real Trading. I was watching football and falling asleep during it and trying to wake up. Probably should have been trading. I just got that 47 fill on Affirm, so we're not going to look any gift horses in the mouth. At this point, I'm going to trail it back into, see this little prior high in here at 35. That's the new spot. So it cannot be a losing trade at this point. And if it breaks 47, I have no idea where it could end up. So I'm not going to try and speculate. Underneath there aren't any obvious. You lose 47 even, and until you get to 46 half, you don't have any obvious level. So I'll just let it work how far it wants to go. Robinhood says Cowrie in the chat. Have a look at that. I feel as if Robinhood, we did this poll months ago in the afternoon show, and it was something along the lines of which one would you rather buy? And it was Robinhood or SoFi. And this was at a point where it was actually a reasonable question to have asked. It must have been way more than months ago. It was a long time ago. This might have actually been at the beginning of the year. I'm so old, I don't remember. Yeah. And it was so overwhelmingly Robinhood was a better choice, but it was 60-40. And I own SoFi, not Robinhood. And Hood is making more 52-week highs as we speak today. So another strong, strong day for Hood, up 3%. It's trending and trending. It's weird that it doesn't want to make another leg up. Like if you look at it, yeah, look at it, it kind of fails the high break, makes a bit of a break, holds VWAP, and now you're just going sideways. That kind of sucks. Like you want to trend it into the high of the day. That feels like what SMCI was just doing, where you're getting this nice little barcode up. There's nothing wrong with it. It's working, but it's not good enough. Just not good enough there on Robinhood. Still a strong day. Not going to complain about it here. Let us know what else you guys are looking at. JP Swade said CELH. Whatever happened here? Well, this is crazy.
Energy drink, right?
I know, but I was at one point I was going to take a breakout on this. Like it was, it rinsed in the morning. Opening range top was just underneath 35. It was higher lows into 35, tight consolidation. I set a breakout trade for 35 to go. I was going to stop it out underneath 75, so it was going to be maybe 30 cents worth of risk. It never broke. I didn't take it, and it basically turned into the greatest short of all time. Or just a really good short. So yeah, CELH, Celsius, yikes. So this is the reason why I got into Snowflake after it closed above the 50-period moving average for the confirmation of the trend reversal. So why I bought Snow, and this is not here day trading, I actually didn't trade Snowflake here, was the close above the 50-period and then the confirmation that we're breaking out. Just a little bit more confirmation when a stock is doing this, like trend down. Just because it wicks the break, that's not good enough for me. I want to show that this is going to be a strong one. So good look there for Snow. Unfortunately, Celsius, yikes, not too good. Yeah, the energy drinks. You deal with that stuff? I know you do like I like the Monster.
I like Monster, but here's the thing about energy drinks, man. What was it? While I was still in school, I kind of went through this phase where I was just like, okay, energy drinks give me like, it focuses you. It's still like a drug, right? It kind of focuses you, helps you focus, which is good. Used in I guess in right proportions. But what happened basically was it was like too much caffeine, and I was like, oh, first I was on Red Bulls. Red Bull was not good enough. And then I switched to Monsters. Monsters is a little bit stronger, in my opinion, so I liked that. And then I started sipping on Monsters, and then Monsters weren't good enough. And I was like, well, I'm getting desensitized to this stuff. And then I'm like, all right, forget that. I'm going to go straight to 500 milligram caffeine pills. And then I started doing those. Oh boy, not the best, because I think I developed restless leg syndrome. Because if you have restless leg, you can kind of bring it on, and kind of it'll like manifest with caffeine overuse or overconsumption of caffeine. It can be brought on by that, and then I pretty much have a little bit of restless leg now.
How did you sleep?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't. They wanted me. I was like, okay. Well, I went to the doctor. I was like, I have this now. I literally can't sleep because I'm getting woken up in the middle of the night with leg pain. Ooh. And then it's like that's real RLS. And I was like, yeah, I can't do it. They wanted me to be on benzos. They wanted me to do this, that, and the other. And I was like, maybe not. Maybe I'll take a little bit more of a natural route, if you know what I mean, to kind of quell.
I know what you mean.
Quell that. I don't want to be hopped up on benzos all day. But yeah, no, that was definitely something. I dealt with. But yeah, energy
Darwin
drinks.
knows what's up.
What's
Darwin just goes, sounds like a Saved by the Bell. This is how I know Darwin, we're born around the same time. Definitely. You know the Saved by the Bell episode? I'm so excited. No? Nothing?
Not really, no.
That's fine. If I gave a reference for when you were talking about Red Bull, you probably finish the line. I'm drinking rum and Red Bull. Hennessy make me heart full. Then while me get awful, when me on the dance, I'll get crawful. You know that song?
Of course.
I know you know that song.
Of course.
See, that you know, but Saved by the Bell, right over the head. Right over the head. You got that was an epic episode. That was one of the first, like if you're my age, that was one of the first episodes of a show that everyone watched that actually dealt with drug use. There was like a big Fresh Prince episode that did it, and then there was that one with some really horrible acting. Because, what's her name again? Sean would know the name of the actress, the one that did Dreamgirls. It was absolutely terrible. Whatever she was, it was Jessie, whatever. It was just an absolutely awful awful acting job, which is what made it so epic. But it was a really good episode. But stay off drugs, people. Yeah, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Drugs are... Elizabeth Berkeley, that's who it is. Miguel in the chat, thank you very much. Was Elizabeth Berkeley. So there you go. I heard something on NNE there. Not a lot of volume, but that's that nano-nuclear energy name. Yeah, it just kind of popped in that it was breaking the high of the day, up 3%, but then the volume's kind of meh. This has been one that's actually been a decent runner. Yeah, it would be nice if this got going again. When nuclear energy was all the rage, small modular reactors, this has had a minute, kind of trying to go back up again. Look at this steep upward trend. This could still go, just probably not today. But anytime like a scanner hits, it's like, okay, well, it broke the high of the day, and it did so on like big relative volume. So that's going to hit the wires. That's going to hit a couple of scanners that I have up. But yeah, no follow through there whatsoever on NNE. Kyle Burdett, how about Alf? He was quite the kitty hound. Alf was jokes too. I like that show. I was a big fan. Alf was a great show. Harry and the Hendersons was terrible.
No idea.
You have no idea what I'm talking about. So Affirm, I don't have a target for Affirm that is in 46 and a half.
Trade.
We're just going to hang on to it. I want to double check. Palantir is a early look buy of 1 million shares. That could be worth watching. Just in case Affirm or something that we're in would have had an early look buy imbalance, but it's really just Palantir. Kenview is meaningless. There's always something going on with Kenview. When is that spinoff ever going to end? Apparently never. Yeah, so just Palantir looks like we should be watching, but wow, Affirm's starting to head to the downside. Robbie V, that NNE does look nice on the daily. I might start looking at that NNE for sure.
Yep. Oh, okay.
What?
No, I thought. Oh, I thought it was. We got called for something there. No, I'm just kind of watching this this Tesla move. We broke below this prior level there. Bit of a double bottom that happened here at that 218 218.49s. You can see strong wick coming in there, and then another little bounce. But something interesting that I did note. A bit of a continuation of that pre-market trend to the downside. So let's see going into the close with only about, only about 23 minutes left here, Neil. So, oh boy, here it comes in. And oh boy, does your Affirm look nice right there. So great trade on that one there. As the market takes, I guess some of these names taking a little bit of a breather after a strong bid up pretty much all day. Tesla,
you know what?
Especially, what's up?
Actually, Obi.
Yes, sir.
The thing is, the mean reversion trade's your baby. But in order to find a mean reversion trade, you've got to be able to have quality charting. And the chart is your a window to the market, allows you to trade smarter and not harder. So check out eSignal, upgrade to an elite trading experience. Whether you're analyzing, whether you're strategizing, whether you're looking at back testing, forward testing, everything you need is there. Every single possible indicator that you could want, every tool in your toolbox is right there. You've got the API to be able to automate. Every symbol you could want to look at is going to be there. It's reliable, real-time data. Lots of traders on this floor have used it. Sean uses it actually every single day. I can tell you that as a fact. It has for the last, I think, 20 years. At least 18 or 19, probably the last 20 years. So when you think about trading, your window to the market is usually visually going to be your charting platform. So a lot of times getting a professional one can make a lot of the difference. So shout out to eSignal. As I said, back testing is an important part of any strategy. I was asked whether I like moving averages. And that's something I could maybe add to. We have a mean reversion strategy. You could add some moving averages to it, do some back testing. eSignal is absolutely perfect for that. Everything you need in one simple place. Scan the QR code that you see right there below. Click the link in the description and start your professional trading journey with a great piece of software there for eSignal. Shout out to them at ICE. And shout out to the almost dollar on Affirm. I'm now trailing this to 47 even. It was really just this. I mean, SMCI didn't really give us the move that we wanted. AMD didn't work on the reversion. Affirm did, so we're able to get, at this point, if it breaks back above 47, I'm out. Otherwise, we're just going to hold. It could go to VWAP. It could go to 46.5. I'm just going to let it ride at this point as it tries to flush to said downside. JP Suede, I just see, every time I see Cathie Wood and I'm like, ooh, something moving. PAC B, Pacific Biosciences. There we go. Now we're through 47.70. Okay, one more breakdown. If we bounce off 46.5 or get underneath the 60 level, I'm going to move the trail underneath that 70 as this continues to flush into the downside. I would argue there's like one or two exits that don't need to be there. That one I will defend. I think that one's fine. This exit is trash. So this exit is on a bounce. It's bouncing off first support. So that actually makes sense. This exit here, it's just wicking the prior high and rejecting underneath. That actually makes absolutely no sense. You should never exit in a situation like that. If anything, sometimes that can be a place to add. So I think so far, like pretty much everything about this trade went perfectly, with the exception of that. I don't remember why I did it, except sometimes you hit bid enter, like, ooh, let's take some profit. That's silly. You should have a reason for getting out at each level. There, break that. And if we bounce off here, now I'm just trailing the last 10%, so it doesn't really matter. But you should have a reason for every single out, not just because you're doing it to do it.
Yeah, no. You see that size on Tesla there, Neil? I'm just gonna put it. Oh, there, it just got taken. Literally as I mention it, as I'm trying to pull up. The filter for it. It got taken. It was at 18s there. Right, 2 18s. There was like 2,000 lots there. I was like, oh, it's holding, and then finally kind of takes it to the downside there. So Tesla kind of coming in as well. A bit of a continuation there of a higher time frame right there happening on that one. AMD as well, not really breaking that trend. So I want to pull it up on. I like start a little bit better. I kind of want to pull it up here. So we did kind of break trend here. You can see that. Again, I want to take it off of here. And I think you're 100% right. Mean reversion, it really depends on how you chart. And again, I was talking to some of the traders as well on the floor, and they're like, yeah, a lot of people kind of dismiss technical analysis. Yep. Well, that's because I would say, again, maybe a little bit of ego here, but you got to know how to chart properly. And now that's something I'm trying to learn as well, right? I'm not saying that being like, okay, I know how to chart. Absolutely not. But I'm on the journey to try and to do better at the charting. And the thing is, it's just like anything else, just like price action. Price action is a story, right? Yes. So it's like, where does that story begin? That's the question, right? So am I going to put my trend line off of the extreme low on the day? Sure, yeah, that's very valid. You could potentially do that. But what I prefer doing is like, all right, morning consolidation, right? You can see that chop. Nobody knows where we're going. We kind of break the opening range highs here and look at this base that forms on top of the opening range high. That's where buying really takes us to the upside, and that's confirmed with this increasing volume that comes in. You can see the morning session phase. Sure, you have a volume spike here on the breakout of opening range high, but we come back in on the pullback. You can see the faded volume coming in, but then that volume starts to pick up nice and slowly as well as we continue for the upside. So I want to start that chart right there, and then you can see just 2 points, and you can see where it comes in on a strong flush and finally starts to kind of fade off. It's broken trend, but again, we talk about trend deceleration as well. It doesn't necessarily mean this thing is going to revert to VWAP right away. We're very well extended off of VWAP, but we only have about 17 minutes left in the trading day, Neil. So it's like, you got to start thinking, can AMD really go from 168 to 166 halves? Sure, it can. I have no idea what will happen in the next 15 minutes. But what is the likelihood? Probably not, in my opinion, unless we get, like, look at the type of selling that came in off of the event, and that definitely brought in an aggressive sell. So unless and until Lisa Su decides to have another impromptu event going into the close, or somebody decides to hit the bid aggressively, which we'll probably see coming in on the tape as well, I don't know if we're going to get all the way down to VWAP in the next 20 minutes. But again, that's more of the consideration that I like to have. But again, when doing the charting, I like to think about what happened and then use my trend lines in and around those places. Look at moving averages after certain types of price action has built a story on the day. But yeah, no, definitely a little bit of a break in trend, and that Affirm, you definitely hit that one on the nose there. As again, that thing definitely, look at that. We can do the same thing here. Opening range. Look at that hold right there. Look at the volume that comes in off of the break. So I want the bid that kind of catches right there. And look at that. We already started getting weaker, and we talk about trend deceleration. So if you want to talk about that,
your entry is way better.
you can be like right here, look at that, trend deceleration. So it starts to break the trend, but we're still watching it. We make a fresh low. So where's that prior low with a little bit of volume?
Can you zoom that in?
This one right here?
Zoom that in. Because everybody should see this. This is exactly, so this happened on Shopify like 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah,
where
it's the same thing that happened.
I was looking at one trend and you were looking at the other, and it ended up at the same entry point. But this time, yours is a better entry than mine because you're entering at that 48, which is up here. Here, can I come to my chart for a second? It's going to be easier for me to show this. But Obi's trend line was breaking here, and you're short here. Mine was here. And I remember there's a couple of times that we've looked at the same thing, and it ends up with the same entry point. But look, it's the same similar principle. The other trend line that Obi just showed you, there's your wick high. You're entering on this one. Like you're entering at 48 even instead of 47.70. Like that's no, on a $40 stock, an extra 30 cents to have a reason to be in here to give to that instead of this entry. I'm all for it. So yeah, I saw this in the chat. And I didn't really, crap, where was it? I was right here. It was this Concrete Critic. This is why I like this channel. Everybody is humble learners. If you are not a humble learner in the market is going to humble you. That's just the reality. So as far as I'm concerned, like I'm now wondering what I should have been seeing here to be in this trade at a much better price and with probably the same level of risk, because I don't see anything different on that wick entry. You're probably risking the same amount of cents to just get it 30 cents earlier. So thanks, Obi. That was a good one. It's weird how that'll happen. Like we're all looking at the same thing. We're all seeing the same kind of idea, but just a little bit of a tweak and you might get a better price entry, a better price, or maybe a reason not to take the trade, which is sometimes an even better thing. Like, hey, it looks great, but like, what's the reason not to take it? And maybe you find that.
Yep. That's what I need to get better at as well. Like saying no to the trade, right? That's like, again, going back to that horrendous trade that I had in the morning. Uber short, again, me fighting the trend, maybe a little tilted as well for missing that 135 on Nvidia, but you know, it's fine. Next trade, we kind of review, reflect, and get back at it even harder, better, faster, stronger on the next trading day here. Nice little flush there, beautiful on Affirm. Thank you, Neil, for calling this one out. I was like, oh boy, yeah, that definitely is a trend break. I like that. Volume as well. We talk about volume. So volume, again, one of the top indicators of mine. Sure, you throw up a trend line, throw up a moving average, throw up a VWAP, but volume is definitely my top indicator. Again, that volume shows up on the tape. That volume shows up on the chart. That volume shows up on the book. So again, a lot of things definitely associated with that volume, with volume using volume as an indicator. And I think what's that volume book? That I really like that book, but again, no, they don't. I guess I don't think she's sponsoring me for saying this, but again, I really like that volume book there. But I think Neil is ready for us before I kind of find that book.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Obi. Introducing a new discovery on the NASDAQ, Worksport, the ticker WKSP. Worksport is a U.S.-based manufacturer and rapidly expanding with growing revenues, government contracts, and innovative green energy products designed to power your life off the grid. Whether you're on the move or seeking sustainable energy solutions, Worksport has you covered. Now trading on the NASDAQ under WKSP, discover the future of clean energy with Worksport. So shout out to them. We appreciate them 100%. I just saw in the chat, what up, Raider? Raider was on with Sean yesterday, I do believe, Aftermarket. I see you in the chat. What up, Raider Trader? Enjoy it tonight, actually. And so I forgot to mention this. On Wednesday, we couldn't have Chris on. He was a bit under the weather, but he's able to come on today. So we missed Chris Breter on Wednesday. He is going to be on the Aftermarket show with myself tonight. But shout out to you, Raider, in there. Raider, what were you trading today? Let me know, man. Let's see what's up there. Let us know what you were trading in there today. There were so many opportunities in the market. I feel like you almost couldn't go wrong. Like Affirm trended all day long. Uber trended all day long. There were breakout trades in AMD and Nvidia. You had Tesla was the SSR bounce. It was just so much out there that you could play into. I don't think I'm going to get into anything else. Just trailed out of that Affirm. It's trying to bounce. Early look on the imbalances. Imbalances are coming in 20 seconds. It's still really just Palantir for 1.8 million to the buy side. So I'm going to likely have this one up for the imbalances when they do come out. Nothing crazy. I mean, 1.8 million is not a lot. Palantir's done 58 million shares in volume today. So it would probably need to be a lot bigger than that when it actually comes out. Palantir, 2 million to the buy side on PLTR. Nvidia, 1.5 million to buy. Apple, 1.3 million to sell. That's about it. Open is just like a million shares. That's not a heck of a lot. Google, 875,000 to the buy side. When we don't have the overall number, unfortunately. I'll have to look for it. Usually Adara will give it to us, but I'll keep an eye out for it to see what the overall market number ends up being here for the future. It's probably not that big, though, because really, like Palantir buy, bit of a mixed bag here with Nvidia, relatively small. Tesla actually just showed up 900,000. I didn't see that before. But it's probably an overall buy imbalance. There's Palantir. Actually got all the way to VWAP. Good thing we got out of that 43 trade. Yep. Oh, that was a good exit point, I think. Yeah, sometimes you don't want to get stubborn about things, right? Like, this trade doesn't work. Just get out of it. You have a small amount of like risk and you have a stop order for a reason, right? Like, if it's working, hold on to it. If it's not working, get out. You know, just trim those losing trades right away if you can. Michael in the chat, Uber in the house. Uber, what an unbelievable day. Yeah, it's wow. You'll see when a stock does this, you'll never feel all that great about it, right? Like, what could have been? Like, I was out of Uber and just didn't find my way back into it. Like, 82 to 84 seems good, but that's only, you know, it's sometimes you sell it like short. That was a pretty big high break that Uber had today. And at least to 85 probably made some sense. 87, wow, to get right back in 87 and now retesting 87. What an unbelievable day for Uber. This one takes the cake. 11% to the upside. Definitely have to shout that one out for sure. Raider is here for the Adara ring. Adara actually already took off. So I don't even know who's ringing the bell today, everybody.
Oh, boy.
It's not going to be me because I'm going to be getting ready up at the desk. And nobody wants to see me try to get quickly from the desk to the bell back to the desk. You know, nobody wants to see that happen because I can walk now pretty decently, but I still use the crutch. I would probably
no running just yet.
Running? You crazy? Running? Wow.
No,
you should see how proud I was that I walked my daughter's school.
Not yet.
My daughter's school is like 400 meters away from my house, maybe 500 tops. Nice. I walked there to her open house on Wednesday, and then we walked around the school during the open house, and then I walked back. I was dog tired, and my heart rate was 112 when I walked in the door. That's walking right now.
Wow.
So
112, so like a spider and a half worth.
Unnecessary. Entirely unnecessary.
I mean, if we're going to reference, you know, I like to look at relative difference, you know. So it's like, what did the spider do? What did the walk do? You can measure in spiders. So, wow, here we go.
I love it, Raider.
Thank you.
I was just curious what you were trading today, but you got to drop a super chat anyways. Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate the super chat. The Raiders trades, here, let me just, thank you for zooming in there and making it a little bit easier. Closed bank and software swings at Citigroup, Wells, CrowdStrike, and Affirm. Favorite trade today was IWM. One thing to keep watching is that TNX or yields. When those continue down, red IWM will start to get major relief alongside biotechs. I like those biotechs too. I'm with you on that one, Raider. Happy weekend all. Happy weekend to you. Shout out to those are great opportunities in there. I just want to quickly, I want to have a look at IWM myself. I mean, I haven't really paid attention to it today. So, hey, you banked on that IWM, your favorite trade today. Look at the break. This is what MSTR looked like. And this morning when we were talking about that MSTR 189, IWM, very similar. It's like a lower high, like liquidity grab underneath resistance, lower high breakout, and then a continuation break. This was actually the lesson of the day on the continuation breakout. Continuation, consolidate, make another leg up. MSTR was the example I used, but this is the same darn thing. Breakout after liquidity grab underneath, consolidation break in here, gave you another consolidation high, and then trend. The trend is your friend, everybody, to the end when it bends. This is the most important thing. There is nothing wrong with abandoning your plan of whatever the heck you thought was the best thing to trade and jumping on an MSTR, jumping on an IWM where you can find some entries in there, jumping on an Uber when it's doing what it did today, or jumping on something like Affirm, like it made its move today. I get it. Nvidia at 135 was all sexy as you know what, but look at it. Great, we're able to, you're able to hammer in and get 50, 60, 70 cents on it. Clean, great trade. But if you can find one of those trenders, that's where it's at. And ultimately, nobody's perfect. I was only on Uber and got out too early. I mean reverted to Affirm. I didn't have the long. I didn't have MSTR. But shout out to you, Raider, for pointing out IWM. There's so many good opportunities out there. That's the best thing about the market. A, that it always opens the next day. And then B, there's endless opportunities for all of us. I'm just going to make sure I'm wrapped up and have canceled my stop orders before I mosey on out of here and get up to the desk, Obi. It was a great and fantastic day.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you after I'm done the aftermarket show. We're going to have Chris Breter on in just about 4 minutes or so. So I'm going to get up to this. I'll see you guys on the flip side in the market recap.
Yeah, thanks again, Neil, for again giving us that knowledge and all that experience there with his wise words. I'm definitely learning a lot every time I'm sitting here beside both Neil and Sean here. Again, great experience to sit beside experienced traders and kind of learn from a seasoned mental as I'm working on my own, right? Trying to get better, trying to get a little bit better every day. We still make mistakes, but how do we get better? How do we find solutions to our weaknesses and continue to kind of, I guess, grow is what I'm mainly focused on as of right now. So, and Fabian says, yes, definitely like and subscribe because we are trying to bring you that value there, and hopefully you guys have definitely got a little bit of value off of that. So the volume book I was talking about earlier is this one right here by Anna Culling, A Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis. I really, really like this book here. And again, I don't think it's very expensive. And now I'm not really selling it. I'm not really, there's no sponsor here. But in terms of the knowledge and kind of perspective that book provides, I really like it. And again, I haven't read it in quite a while, but I remember going through it a few times. And every now and then I do kind of do a little bit of a refresher there. But yeah, no, hopefully you guys had a good trading day there. Market extremely strong off of the open there. Spider at all-time highs. What? We were like in July, we were like, oh, is this the top? Absolutely not. Apparently not. As we continue to push higher and higher on these markets here. And yeah, hopefully you guys had a great week there. Ending off quite strong on quite a lot of names. Again, Uber was strong. We had that 135. Like, what was it? I'm thinking right now, what was the best trade today? There's a few that really stand out right off the bat. There's that Tesla SSR point where it kind of lick grabs and not really lick grabs, but comes down into the level and gets bid up aggressively off of that SSR level. That 135 on Nvidia was absolutely crazy. It showed itself yesterday multiple times. It showed itself in the pre-market multiple times. And then it showed itself again off of the open a couple of times before finally coming in with a nice strong tape pushing into the level, knocking on the door of that 135, never really looking back on that initial push and continuing up about 70 pennies in the back through that 135 was absolutely amazing as well. Uber to the upside with that Tesla event happening overnight. Uber to the upside, Tesla to the downside, so a little bit of a trade there as well. Uber continuation. And again, Uber is closing strong on the day here, guys. So got to keep that one on watch going into next week right here. So 87 clean is the high as of right now. So do we get a reversion coming in on Monday? Do we get a continuation above 87? These are all-time highs currently right now on Uber. So I have no idea, but I'm going to be watching for that to happen there. So we already got a few tickers kind of lined up to watch for next week. Let's see what things unfold over the weekend to see if there's anything else in play, but we only got about, 45 seconds left until the market closes, and I see a lot of people kind of, talking about Raider Trader. Yes, sir. Thank you, Raider Trader, for that super chat. great longs there. You said you closed some swings there, absolutely crazy there. We've seen what some of those names have been doing. Affirm definitely to the upside today on some strength. And okay, so we only have about 40 seconds. I gotta time this right. I know I'm known for not really timing that counter down, so I gotta watch that. 15 seconds left till the market close there, guys. So hopefully you guys have a good weekend here. All right, so we got the bell going again, sponsored by Worksport, WKSP. Check that ticker out. Trades on the NASDAQ there. 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's the bell. That is the week, guys. So thank you very much again for spending your time with us, spending your day with us, spending your week with us here at Real Trading. Hopefully you guys got some value. What to do, what not to do. I think there's a lot of value on the table if you are watching. Depends on your perspective of things. But without any further ado, we got Neil at the big desk with the market recap. Hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll see you guys around. Take it easy.
Thank you very much, Obi. We got the market recap at the big desk, and it's about time we actually call this the big desk, not that one. Like Sharif likes to call out, like shout out myself, our desk, the big desk, when they're literally carbon copies of each other. They're exactly the same, and this big, monstrous, honking thing that looks like it belongs on the set of a, I don't know, like a news station or whatnot. And Randy, by the way, Randy built all this. This is the big desk, and we're here right now. It was a real day today. I'm talking about opportunities out the wazoo. Shout out to Raider Trader, because we were just talking about that IWM bank. And I'm gonna lead off with XBI in a quick second after I do this little like recap spiel of how the market did, right? But no, it was a big day overall. I mean, the NASDAQ was actually not the leader. It was actually the SPY that was super strong, relatively speaking. Tesla, as much as Tesla sold off and was a gap down, you've got to keep in mind, during the actual event, it blew through 42 all the way up through 50 into 52, bounced off 45, and was looking strong, and then they gapped it down overnight. And then it sold off right at the open to go SSR, monster bounce, SSR bounce. So during the event, the traders were buying it up on the event, probably trapped some people there overnight. I think that's why you got to be careful with that overnight trading. So ultimately, the event for Tesla, I thought it was pretty cool. Doesn't matter what I think. Tesla ends up in the red today. We did have a PPI print, kind of a mix at 8:30. I don't think it was that big of a deal. It seems like it didn't really move the market too much there. CPI certainly were acting pretty positive to what was a relatively hot number, a little bit. So the market, it's a bull market. And if you try to overthink a bull market, you're going to end up missing opportunities. You're going to end up taking shorts that you shouldn't. You know, you're going to be getting out of things that are trending higher. When you're in a bull market, you definitely want to keep it tight to the vest and remember the market that you're in. I'm laughing because Cap is in the chat there. Watch the spider under the desk. That's a good one. No, I'll be honest. We have a lot of fun around here. Fabian really got me with that. For everyone that was watching in the afternoon, that was 100% genuine. Just you saw it. Whatever, you guys saw it. I was genuinely shocked by that one. So obviously a great day in the market here. Overall, there were some sectors that we didn't quite go over, and I wanted to mention XBI and the Biotech, because I think this is something that Raider was also mentioning in his trades and what he's looking for. You know, we've had a lot of things that have gotten to all-time highs or gotten to 52-week highs and backed off. XBI is a perfect example of this. This is a monster level on the daily, up above 103.5. Like your tops in March, tops in July actually, well, June and July, tops over here in August, then another top there just now in September. You pull back almost to the 200 period moving average, which again, the gold standard of where to dip buy strong things if you like them, and we're going to close at the 50. And look, I think you need some confirmation in here. You can see it was a lower high. You need some confirmation. I think holding the 50 period moving average, if you're not in off the 200 period or in front of it, you're waiting for confirmation over the 50 and then a retest of those highs. I like that. I like that notion. Sometimes it's better to be long into a big break than have the actual break. A couple of traders on the floor today, not myself because I just took the 135 break on Nvidia, but a couple of traders on the floor were playing the long into 135 such that it was trending into it. You end up, as it's breaking the high, you could have a better average price, like a 134.75. That way, if the 135 fails, you can have a break-even stop instead of a lose 30-cent stop. I think that's always good. And when you look at things that are trending, why not just have yourself a better price? So great day there for XBI. Obviously a superstar day for IWM. Again, shout out to Breter. Thank you for the super chat, brother. But look at that 50-period hold on the IWM. What more can you ask for when you're looking at the technicals? Clean, double bottom at the 50-period SMA on the daily. Retest of this high? Yeah, I think so. When you've got an upward trend, hold off the 200, higher lows, bounce off the 50, get to the high. Why not? That's what you expect to have happen. So shout out to you. Great looking trade in there. If you're thinking about what happened with the financials, it all starts with the bank earnings today. You had JPM, you had Wells Fargo. I mean, Wells was the one I preferred. We end up trading other things today. You'll never really get it all. Uber, great. Obviously, Nvidia. Obviously, Tesla, you're looking at that one. You're not going to trade everything. So I didn't actually get into Wells Fargo today, but I did prefer this one over JP Morgan, just based on the relative strength that it had. I got to show the different chart here. Let me go to that's already a daily. I'll pop this one to a 15, just so you can get a sense of what Wells Fargo was giving you. Like, it was a dip right into 59 and then go. And that was in the pre-market. And so that 59 level was a dip pre-market into 59 during the earnings call of JPM, and then it just started going higher and higher. And it was eventually that hold of 60, made a break of the 61 level, ends up holding on to this as a key close. It's going to be important for continuation on Wells Fargo, is to hold at 61. Otherwise, you have to wait for that 60 support. Hold the 61 next week, and then you work into that 62.5 high there for Wells, 5.5%. They reported this morning. It was strong earnings for all of the banks. But yeah, obviously you're going to have a pretty good day there for Wells Fargo and for XLF when the banks are doing their thing. Gold had a strong move as well. Here's the one I wanted to quickly show you. So TAN, and I'm going to show you guys Snowflake in a second for an example of what you're looking for. For everyone that's trying to bottom pick these solar names, it's getting really close. The more times that you hold the low and consolidate at the bottom, it's not a bad thing. I think the breakouts get better the longer it consolidates at the bottom, and the more people take pot shots and lose, and you're waiting for it to actually break back out. It just hasn't done it. This is a good low when it tested breaking, but it wasn't as long of a consolidation because this broke that low. That's fine. Let it go sideways. Be patient. I was patient enough with Snowflake for it to hold the bottom. Look at the downward trend on Snow. And then look at the long consolidation off of this bottom. Holding on to the low, finally breaking it out, closing above the 50-period moving average, and now all signs are to the upside. So Snowflake, you wait for a stock that is trending down to make a real breakout, to make a real consolidation break, confirm the move. If you're looking at a breakout like this on the daily chart for a swing, well, then you need it to close above. If you're looking at it for a day trade, well, then you probably just have this breakout right in here, and that's fine. So make sure you understand what time frame you're looking at and what the structure of your trade needs to be. That's always very important. You know, if you're finding you're looking at one chart to execute on another, if it's working for you, great. But if you look at a 15 for your entries and you're exiting on a 3 and you're not getting good entries, maybe look at your 15. So if you're looking for the level, if you're looking for the trend on the 15, maybe you should trade based on the 15 as well. Everyone is going to be different in that regard. It wasn't all strength. UNG today, down 2%. I mean, weed wasn't a very good day either. But natural gas, and something I'll be interested in talking to Michael about this, because I know Michael Noss, when we last spoke, we spoke this morning, and we had him on. So we didn't have him on this morning. We had him on Monday, and he had already made money on that breakout hold of the 50 period on UNG. It goes right to the 200. That's your obvious take profit. But now you're bouncing off the 50 period moving average. So I need to find out from Michael, and we'll find this out on Monday, whether he likes this bounce off the 50 period again, prior resistance into support, or get a win on the Widowmaker and walk away. Sometimes that's the way to go, man. That Widowmaker, there's a reason why traders have always called natural gas the Widowmaker. Kind of a difficult thing to trade. I heard you just say spiders over there. Fabian, that's fine. They are not the Widowmaker, natural gas is. Before we get to, I know we're going to have Chris on in just a little bit, and I want to make sure we get a few questions in there, and it's some interesting chatter that I wanted to be able to get to. SMH. Not a huge breakout. So I know when I did the market recap show the other day, it was this consolidation breakout that we're looking for on the SMH. So it didn't really break, and then we got a little bit of a nudge above the 256. Not a very strong move. Technically speaking, yes, it did break that local high and then spent the entirety of the day consolidating. So some context for this, Nvidia couldn't hold that 135, basically just barcoded off 135 after that breakout. AMD was down heavily. Even though it gained some traction, AMD was down heavily. Broadcom as well. AVGO, which had been absolutely just moonshotting, and one of the stronger names out there, Broadcom, had a world of trouble today and ended up weak. So the fact that despite all of this, SMH was really able to hold up as well on the breakout, I think is a good thing. I think if a couple of those names can do a bit of a recovery, that SMH break will look a little bit better. It did close above. I think you got to look at this one next week and see on Monday, is it able to actually hold on to that prior high? And then you have all systems go. I see Ari Pages. Anyone watching a movie this weekend, and what movie you're all watching? I can promise you this, Ari. My daughter is going to make us rewatch James and the Giant Peach for movie night. I would like to watch something different. And a lot of times we're watching a kid movie, but we just finished reading it together. Like, we read stories every single night. So we're reading James and the Giant Peach, which I read as a kid together. And now she wants to watch a movie a second time. I'm like, hey, it's fun. I got no issues with that. I am dying to actually watch Deadpool and Wolverine. So Obi, I haven't seen it yet. So Obi hasn't seen it either. I'm hoping I get to watch that on Saturday. Let me know what else you guys are watching. Michael Ryan, big game for Caleb Williams coming. I could care less how much he throws for. I'm starting the Bears defense again. I just need them to get a couple of interceptions and a bunch of sacks. That's all that matters to me in fantasy. And I'm playing Sean in fantasy this week. So I really need the Bears defense and the Bills defense to come through, because me versus Sean. I had Kenneth Walker and Geno Smith go last night. Kind of an okay game, but he only had Ayuk and he didn't really come through. So right now I'm looking pretty good against Mr. Katina Man in this fantasy football matchup in our high school. Just a couple of minutes, like I said, we're going to have Chris Breter come through. What else do you guys want to talk about? Not Joker 2, everyone keeps saying. So now here's the thing. How could you possibly have a fantastic original film, unbelievable acting? It is a slam dunk. You can't screw it up. I haven't seen it, and I'm going to watch it because how could it possibly be as bad as everyone's saying? How is it possible? Joaquin Phoenix is brilliant. You can't screw that up. I can see how you screw up. I can see how you screw up Star Wars after all of this. They managed to do it anyway. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'm probably going to watch Joker at some point, but I'm not rushing to do it. I'd rather watch Deadpool first. But everyone's saying it's really bad, and it really surprises me that you're able to mess that one up. Like, some things should be really easy to get, especially when you got a lot of talent around it. So let me know. John in the chat. Oh, I like this one. I like it so much, I'm going to show it. I'm watching Neelage lessons on 25 times speed all weekend. I appreciate that. But does that mean I speak too fast? Maybe. Quarter speed? Because usually when you're rewatching stuff, like, you watch it at the higher speed because, like, you know what, you're going to go through it. Like, if I was re-listening to an audiobook that I've already done, I might listen to it at 1 1/4 speed, not a quarter speed. I feel like you're telling me I talk too fast, but I appreciate you so much. Hopefully we can start posting some more of those lessons of the day so you guys don't have to always go back at noon and try and figure out exactly where it might be. Yeah, Squash Battle saying don't waste your time on Joker. Okay, look, it is what it is, man. I'm not here to argue with anybody. I just feel at some point I'm going to watch it. I'll probably wait till it's free somewhere. Like if I know it's going to be bad, I'll wait till I can watch it on a free streaming service like a year from now, and then I'll check it out. Because I just feel like at some point I'm going to do it. Maybe I just don't have to pay for it. Fabian's like, it'll be on DVDs. I don't still watch DVDs. I know I got gray hair, and I know I make fun of myself, and I know I embarrass myself with how old I am. But no, man, I don't have no. I still have DVDs. I just don't actually play them. You don't have VHS tapes, do you? Fabian has the full collection of Back to the Future on VHS with the bonus features. That's legit. My dad used to have all of that stuff on beta. And then he eventually, we were Betamax. Exactly, that's how we were. We were beta in the 80s at my household when I was a kid growing up, and we had like one of those old original Macintosh computers. Like we were legit back in the day. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to the market for a quick little second here while we wait for Chris. I don't know where he is, but if he's not gonna come through, I did want to make this comment too, because SLV, silver, this was a bit of a bamboozler. Now, they talk about silver being the most manipulated market. Hold on a second. Let me just... oh, we need to send a new Zoom link. You got it? Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir, Fabian. Yeah, I just realized that Chris had just messaged me, and he needed a Zoom link, so we're going to have him on... What's that? Can you message it to me, and I'll just send it to him. I have him right here. Yeah, so I just need to be able to send that to him. So very quickly, silver failed breakout. This is what they do on silver. Failed breakout, I'd say pretty nasty. And I think maybe the second time through it'll look a little bit better. A lot of people do not like this relative to gold because it's believed to be one of the more manipulated markets. But that was a bit of a bamboozler. But you know what, like everything else that we looked at here, IWM, XBI, you're holding the 50-period moving average. So even though you reject that top, you hold the 50-period for a consolidation breakout. Well, I still think this looks pretty strong, but there was zero confirmation on this break. Like it was, like if you're in this breakout, it makes absolutely no sense. There was no close above. So a failed break, maybe rinse some people out or got some people to take some profit on it, and now you're getting those higher lows. So I think a pretty decent look. Ideally, you'd get a little bit more out of it. And then I wanted to mention and acknowledge KWEB. So after we didn't get what we wanted out of the Chinese stimulus was a dud. So that it was going to happen, great. Once we see what's under the hood, not so much. Disappointment. Do you have the link as well? Okay, good. So obviously, not the best look here for KWEB, and I don't think this is over. I just think we're in a holding phase when it comes to this. So we're in a bit of a holding phase, and I like the fact that, hey, you're consolidating, you didn't really fall apart. As long as you're above prior highs, I think it's constructive. So 32.5 on KWEB. I was having a look at Alibaba. I know Sean took profit on Baba. I'm determined that Alibaba is a long-term holding. I'm not considering it a swing. It was never my intention. That being said, if you look at Baba compared to its prior highs relative to KWEB, it is doing much better, much, much stronger. And on top of that, the first down move held to 106. Look at this daily chart on Baba. Your first big down retracement day held 106. Where did we bounce this week? 106. So what do we like next week? 106 on Alibaba. Now, if we lose 106, that is a Breter ledge. I was about to say flat bottom break, then I remember we had Chris coming on. That is a Breter ledge at the 106 if we can't hold on to that. I feel like that's going to be a nice one there in either direction. Levels like this, it's support till it's not. If it loses it, you can look for the short. It's just about trading the right price. Just trade the price level. Trade the right price level. Make decisions at the right spot. I think the 106 looks obvious. I do think that relative to KWEB, Baba's move on the daily seems better to me. That's open to interpretation, but I look at it very simply. Like you have this high that happened down in April. Sorry, no, that was actually May. May high, there's your breakout, you're holding a higher low. Then you throw up KWEB, May high, don't break out until much later, and you're holding a higher low at the May high. Not extended past the May high, but essentially right in front of the May high. Alibaba is just relatively strong compared to the indice here. That's why I like BABA. There was also a longer consolidation at the bottom. I like BABA over the index. Doesn't mean you can't trade the ETF. You don't have to worry about single stock risk. So I believe we are now ready. We got everything figured out here. We got 10 minutes. We got time. We got Mr. Breter. It's time for a little trader talk. Chris, good to see you. We got Chris Breter, Simpler Trading. First of all, just a pleasure to see you. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better. I know we always like to connect on a Wednesday, but it's great to have you here on a wild Friday.
Yeah, it's, I got to tell you, I mean, I made like $50,000 from the hospital. I'm sorry I wasn't able to share it with you. But no, just kidding, just kidding. No, I'll tell you what stress is. Stress is not getting the link until about 1 minute ago. That's stress for today. So, you know, I'm glad to be on. And I thought I'd show you some with First Solar and also the hurricane stocks if you want me to.
Let's get right into it, Chris. Let's see what you had going.
All right. The first thing is you mentioned about First Solar. And, you know, when I was on 2 weeks ago, we talked about, you know, and I got to say perceived because I don't want to get political, but theoretically, Harris was perceived to win the debate, and XBI and First Solar rallied like we talked about. Well, then when Vance perceived to win the debate, that's when we were trying to short First Solar. And sure enough, it went all the way back to where it was when Harris won the debate. And believe it or not, it did the same thing with XBI, where it rallied and then sold off. And as you see, XBI rallied and First Solar rallied today. It's amazing. Now, I don't know anything about the polls today, but it's fascinating to see. First Solar went exactly back to that gap fill when, so now it's not factoring in anything with the politics. So that, like you said, it's a good risk reward in that area.
$2 level, you got the 200 period moving average. What's weird about it is the bounce that you saw today in XBI and First Solar, it feels like it has to be technical because I saw in one of the betting markets, one of the major betting markets actually had Trump ahead, was like 51. Too. So like you would think if it was still about that you wouldn't have had that big of a bounce off support. But when you look at it from a technical standpoint, okay, well, you made the round trip. You bounce off the support because anyone that played that short is now covering, going back, ending the week. I mean, in First Solar's case specifically, it's Friday. The 200 period moving average is at $200. Is it gonna lose $200 today? After that kind of a move, usually you end up like not running away from those big options levels. I think it's probably part of the reason why Nvidia couldn't do much with the 135 level today. It would have been nicer if it broke that level earlier in the week, but when it tries to go on a Friday, it can just be a little bit different. There was just so much gravity back and forth to that price. Maybe the same thing happened here on First Solar there, Chris.
I mean, it's funny. I have another chart ready for you about the technicals. So when you see the ES on the left, I know we talked about it last week, about it this far over the 50 moving average. And the NASDAQ breaking that diamond formation, which we pointed out last week, then you got to think the Russell is going to break up, not down from that bull flag. And then if the Russell is going to break up, you got to think the XBI is going to break up. We actually bought the XBI. We got out too early, but we bought the XBI this morning. So on that, even though you had that thing about, you know, that correlation I showed you, that's why we bought it as a spread, because I got nervous that it might underperform the Russell. But yeah, definitely technical related. That's how it looked to me.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we have another guest that comes on the show that mentioned the exact same two symbols, Russell,
really?
XBI. So I mean, great minds think alike. And the breakout that happened on, I mean, the IWM move today was, it get mirrored, but the only thing that was as impressive as the IWM move up, I think, was maybe MSTR. And in part and parcel, like obviously Bitcoin made some kind of a bounce. MSTR was kind of a squeeze. It's a squeeze play, so you get some extended moves there. But the move that happened on the 15-minute on IWM was breathtaking, because there's trades, like there's breakout trades and there's breakout trades. And then there's breakout trades where you can literally be a full 1.5% late and still find a clean break. You can be even like almost 2% late and still find a consolidation breakout at another level. And then even after that late break, it just trends and trends and trends, ends up closing at the highs. Like this is one of those, like that's as good as it gets in terms of an opportunity for a breakout trade because it gave you multiple setups. Now, we were looking at individual things like Affirm and Uber. There's lots of other things that you could have traded as individual stocks, but great look on IWM. Now, question for you there with regards to IWM. Just like a what's next at these highs. Because this 225 on, it's like XBI has a huge top that we're running into potentially. Obviously, the 225 has been a really big deal on the Russell here. So like, what are your thoughts going into this? Is it a brick wall that you just got to be taking profits out in front, holding a piece for the dream, exiting trades, and then looking for a breakout to be separate? What do you do next with the Russell here?
Well, I got to think, number one, the Russell, I guess, when I look at the Russell on the right and it bouncing off the 50, and you see on how far it is below that little thing, like 224 on the far right. And then you look at the transports, which had this bounce today, also technical, but that's almost making the new high. You got to think IWM can go higher. But I really think that it's coming out that so much of IWM has banks in it. So I really think that watching the BKX or the KRE, the bank index, which is at a new high, look at that. Look at that bull flag. That's got to help the Russell. On the other hand, it's getting a little extended from its 50. So let's just see what the bank index does the beginning of next week with Goldman Sachs on Tuesday. So that can definitely keep the IWM from having another leg up at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Like it started really well, like earnings season for the banks. It's been a good start. But you have to remember, we have a lot more to get through. We're just starting earnings season. You get a few financials. You're going to get the bulk of them next week. Pretty much anything that was, like if you had anything adjacent to the banking sector, to crypto, you were having a good day today. And if you didn't, then that's probably a stock that nobody should want next week, in my opinion. It's like if everything was so strong, what are you doing if you couldn't have rallied today? There was a question in the chat here. Now, it was Havana Woody, one of our viewers, is curious about UNG and natural gas. Now, I always say this.
I'm not trying to be ugly. I don't even have it on my watch list.
Okay.
Because it's been such a widowmaker for so long. So I just took it off. And I don't even have it on. Now, that being said, this is usually the time of year when it goes up. Yeah. As you see, it went up last year in December. And it went up the year before. It went down in December. I'm telling you, it's just a widowmaker. Yeah. You've said that over and over, and I agree with you. I just don't even look at it.
I don't disagree with you.
I'm not trying to be ugly. It just hasn't worked for so long. I've sort of stopped looking at it.
You know what, Chris? I repeat this quote often because I think it's one of my favorite quotes. And it's simply that if you care about somebody, tell them what you think. If you care about yourself, tell them what they want to hear. Obviously, everyone would want to hear for that question, hey, what's the bull case for, what can you construe for a bull case? Oh, I look at UNG, it's really interesting down here. And we've had some guests that actually have made money trading on it. I can tell you right now, every trader I know, for the most part, like 99% of them, try not to touch it because it's just so nasty to the downside. Even it tricks you into those breakouts. So appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty. We got the question. I wanted to make sure you got it, and I had a feeling that what your answer was going to be, but I didn't want to put any words in your mouth there. And there's nothing wrong with staying away from a symbol if it doesn't work.
Look at this. This is what we mean about widowmaker. How many gaps up has it had, followed by a gap down the next day? I mean, it's just brutal. Just brutal. Look at this. And then you have this one. And then if you bought it because it looked like it was breaking out, next thing you do, it opened down a point. I mean, it's just so tough in those kind of things. And the worst part is you'll probably get a bull flag one day at 16 and you'll be like, I'm not touching it. and then you have all your reasons to buy it, but you're so gun shy because of all the false bull flags that haven't worked.
I'm with you 100% on that one. And that's what you got to be able to look at. It's not just, look, does it look like a good setup, but are the setups that I trade ever actually following through on that particular instrument? Why? Because when you have trading setups, there are a million places you can express them. So why bother trying to pick the one that you may think can go the furthest, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't work in the first place, or you can't hold on to the trade because it keeps kind of rinsing you out and tricking you. Chris, because we got you on a little bit late here, I want to make sure you had the opportunity to mention everything that you wanted to, because we're getting on in time. Was there anything that you wanted to try to cover that we haven't already talked about?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We were going over, and I've talked about this with the hurricane stocks about
Right.
buying on rumors, selling on news. Which you look at something like Beacon Roofing, and I'll get to Generac in a minute because that was actually news related. But as you see, this went nuts when the storms developed. And then what happens, right here. So Milton develops, it goes straight up like 10 points. And the second that it hit, it broke down, it gapped down. It's just fascinating how that works. Now, just to let you know on like taking a profit. So here I am, and luckily I'm posting this in the chat while I was gone. We shorted Generac right here, right on the way up. And yesterday I posted the exit here and this morning. And then you might ask, well, why did it go up when the rest went down? Because Trump posted on Truth Social like at noon about that he's going to give a rebate, a tax credit, retroactive to September 1st to anybody that buys generators. Thank goodness we were already out.
Yeah.
So that's just brutal when that happens.
Oh, it's obviously, thank goodness that you're out of that trade. That's the thing, you never really know. You keep your ear to the ground. You want to make sure you have a news service. It's another good reason why we tell traders to trade with stops. You never really have any clue. The one that gets me, before we get ready, the one that gets me in the middle of the day that I always warn people, it's really sexy trading these low float runners or these like small cap names that just start going crazy. It's really important for traders to understand the difference between one of those companies that has already filed to do an offering and then can drop it whenever they want to because the filing's been done, and the ones where they actually would have to, when it does this parabolic move, whatever headline they have, they can't just do an offering the next day because they're going to have to file for it. It'll at least stay up for a couple of days. People will swing trade in these small cap stocks where they could drop an offering at any moment, and then when one happens on day two, people get rinsed. So you do your homework there. Sometimes trading with a stop is going to be able to help you. It's a great trade on Generac and a good look there. Buy the rumor, sell the news.
It was a good one, but, and I'm not trying to tout the room, but I texted that from a hospital bed. So we bought it. We bought some put spreads between 235 and 260 and sold them at 420. So, and then on the opening, we bought stock against the rest of them, sold the stock and sold the spreads, the rest of them at 4, and then sold the stock on the way up. But that's why you gotta have that in there of how to, that's what I'm here for, to get people out too.
That's what it's all about. And you know what? It's probably extra sweet. Obviously, you're doing fine right now. I mean, you're saying from the hospital bed. So everyone, Chris is doing well, obviously, and good to see a smile on your face. I think it's extra sweet if you're able to make the winning trade from the hospital bed there. Why not? It's also a pretty cool story to be able to tell, right? Like, hey, I knocked that one out.
Yeah, it's interesting because, so I'm going through an MRI. I'm looking, there's Stryker machines, there's GE machines, and I'm in my head going through like, should we buy them? Should we sell them? And it's interesting because it's like your mind never turns off about trading if you've done it this long. It's pretty interesting.
I did the same thing when I had my MRI for my Achilles. I remember you're sitting there and you're looking at the machine. It's like, I wonder how much one of these things costs, and how many do they sell, and how many does the hospital have, and how often do they have to get new. All of that starts running through your head, but it's never a dull moment. I'm glad you're doing better. It's fantastic. I mean, IWM, unbelievable opportunity there. XPI, we'll have to monitor that, and great look on Generac. Shout out to you, Chris Breter. Once again, terrific guest. I'm glad we're able to get you on there. Thank you for everything you do. And it's not, I know it's not Thanksgiving for you, not till, I mean, Thanksgiving doesn't really happen for most people until next month, but it's Canadian Thanksgiving. So as a Canadian, I will say a happy Thanksgiving because we celebrate it this weekend.
I'll tell you real quick is my daughter had to take care of a turkey that was a week old, and we basically named the turkey, and it became a pet for a month. So I try to keep, well, we don't have Coco anymore. It's back at her place. She's a pet. I mean,
Wow.
she was, but I hide her during, I'm going to tell her to hide them during Thanksgiving.
Well, you got to do that. That's more power to you. But yeah, keep Coco safe there in November, to be sure. Chris Breter, thank you so much. Have an awesome weekend. It was good having you.
Yeah, thanks for fitting me in. That's really nice of you.
Anytime, Chris. We're always going to make sure we get you in there. We love having you.
Now, take care.
Always a pleasure to have Chris Breter there over from Simpler Trading. I love that story. You know, at the end of the day, turkeys there to be had. I think turkeys are overrated. I know we do it during Thanksgiving, but let's be real. If it wasn't for Thanksgiving, is that ever the meat that you're choosing? Really? Anybody? Is it really your favorite? I don't think it is. As a matter of fact, I know it's not. You like a whole lot of other things better, whether it's lamb or steak or chicken, or maybe you don't like meat. That's up to you. Everyone do you. But you know what you do love? You love a little roll call because we're past time and we got to get it in here. You know what we do here. We thank everybody. Shout out to Fabian. Ramin's been away, so Fabian and Andre on the ones and twos have been doing a fantastic job. Big shout out to Sataya, Joe, Sharif on the midday, to Adara on the desk, Brennan on the desk, Obi filling in for my main man, Sean Katina, who is celebrating with family Thanksgiving. That's why it wasn't on today. Shout out to all of you, and shout out to Bears versus Bulls. You know you're the best. Thank you once again for being the best moderator on there, on all of YouTube, and keeping this party that we have in the chat going every single day. Special shout out to Chris Breter for coming on, and to Raider Trader for the super chats and the great trading ideas. Look at that. There's no chance Raider, XBI, IWM. Chris, XBI, IWM. That's what it's all about. You know it's good when that is the case. So let's get it on in here. I don't want to miss anybody. Tony Ludek, turkey, gross, beef. See, that's what I'm talking about. Neo Rob in the house. Mike Breeze, Havana Woody. I hate turkey and all its derivatives. I'm just speaking truth, everybody. We all know it's true. Eli 7721, the Piper in the house, Odyssey Fights, Darwin, what up? Manish in the chat, Viva Jurgen, Yatube 37, Zenod 1066, Moy Consado, John Del Segno in the chat, Monty G, Bbot 5000, CompuCare team, Ari Pages, Fat Figure in the house, what up? Chase Bands in the house, Crypto FOMO, we got Cap, we got Travel Buddy, Logan's Pop, Bristol, Brandon Townsend in the chat. Thank you again, Bears versus Bulls, Derek Thompson, Midnight in the Ocean. I'm down with that. Wish it was actually good weather and you could really do it. We got Carlos in the chat, Jay Haas, easy peasy, Lionel Gonzalez, sorry. We've got Bala P. Bala, you in the chat? Is that you? First of all, you need to diversify your portfolio. Holding that much, I've said this before, holding that much Tesla, you know what's up. And stop trying to rip off Zane in our fantasy league, Bala. I know what you're trying to do. You're not going to get the deal done, all right? Just stop trying to rip off. Bala is actually, if this is really Bala, Bala has been one of mine and Sean's friends. Sean's friends since I think they were like 13 years old, and I've known Bala since I was 15 years old. So that's a very long time ago. Shout out to you, Bala. Thank you for coming on here. Appreciate you. Howell Capital Trading. We got new NYSE Urbanista. Can't get through them all because I'll tell you right now, the car is probably waiting for me. I don't want to keep him waiting. And Fabian's on the ones and twos there by himself. It's already 4:40 here. He's probably been waiting for like 5 or 6 minutes. Thank you guys so much. We have a lot of fun doing this. And we have a lot of fun because we have the best trading community out there. You guys are fantastic. The market's fantastic and fun to trade when it's like this. And it's even better next week. Bank earnings, Netflix, baby, watch out for. We get the real earnings starting to come through. We have all the chip movement. Now you've got the Russell starting to move around a little bit. It's going to be a fantastic week. But first, everyone enjoy your weekend because we're Trader TV Live, and we'll see you bright and early Monday morning. Happy Thanksgiving, Canadians.